everything I learned from Asian Hustle Network after that point, combined with with people that can actually like market stuff and put things in order and make it pretty. Like a campaign went like super viral. My mom forbid me to have sleepovers at other people's houses. She never let me sleep over, and she never had anyone come visit us at our house. And as I got older, I realized she never wanted us to feel like we're missing things, because if you went over to my friend's house, I realized that wow, they have big houses and like all these things. It's a little bit embarrassing because my first job, I got offered a salary of, what do you want to order? It was like they have never experienced it before. And it's like they were so uncomfortable to the point where it's like it's sad. You know, you're just looking at them. You're like, you give me so much of my life, and seeing you like startle when the waiter's like, "How's the food?" You know, you're like, "Oh, holy shit!" It's so sad. You know, like that part was heartbreaking to me. I was like, "Shit!" Like, you look back, like, oh fuck, like this is how far I've come. But extremely heartbreaking because this is like how far your parents have sacrificed.
Hello, family and friends. Welcome to another Talks with Liem. This is available to the billions around the world on YouTube in 4K and audio streaming services like Pandora, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. And now onto the podcast. All right, well, just start the conversation.
Start talking about Asian stuff.
So, Bryan, you do the the Facebook group Asian Hustle Network, and that's at 81,000 members that I just checked.
Woo!
And you are the co-organizer with Maggie. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm the co-founder with my boss Maggie. There we go.
Okay. So how did you guys start that, and what's your role in it?
Yeah, so I'm basically CEO of the organization. We're actually a C Corp, so we fully incorporated. We raise funding for our company, with the full intention that we're pivoting towards becoming like an Asian BuzzFeed and Netflix model. And the reason being is we wanted to create a framework for the community to showcase their talent, because we see a lot of gatekeeping in our own community, especially in Hollywood, especially in corporate ladders. Like, so that pivot was like for the community, body community. So the inspiration behind Asian Hustle Network happened around, I want to say around like 2018. That's the time where I was just starting to look around at me, and then I was starting to look around, and I'm like, man, like I really don't see enough Asian representation in media. And that's something I kind of kept to myself. I didn't really talk to anyone about it, but I just like made a mental note.
Yeah.
And then at the time I was living in San Francisco, and the same thing. The joke in San Francisco was, wow, San Francisco is getting really white. You know, like tech is making SF getting really white. And again, I also made a mental note. I didn't really think about it, but I finally like got to the point where I put two and two together when I kept getting passed up for my promotion at work. And then one of the things that my director kept telling me was like, "You're not outspoken enough. You're not a leader." I'm like, "What the heck? What are you talking about?" You know, like I always see myself as a leader. So that's when I started like really looking into it and realized a bunch of statistics, right? That Asian people typically do not get promoted to C-level executive positions, and I kept diving into that, and it made me realize, like, am I the only one that feels this way? So I started experimenting around, started tweeting, started blogging, and it was starting getting a lot of momentum at that point. But I still didn't really think about starting a Facebook community or any community, because that never really occurred to me.
What were the you said you're tweeting about it, like what was it, motivational stuff for Asians, or what was?
Yeah, sort of. It's more like,
it's like, damn the white man.
No,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's more
I'm
like,
just kidding.
Like Asian people need to support each other, because I saw like a huge divide within the Asian culture. Like my ongoing joke with people is like there's no one that hates Asian people more than the Asian people.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, I feel like Yao Ming doesn't give a shit about me. I'm blowing up the swearing problem. Sorry. I feel like Yao Ming is not supporting my success personally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing I saw. I just saw a lot of like crab mentality and tear each other down. And I felt like because of that mentality, like we can't exactly make real progress. And I want to change all of that. It wasn't until actually my trip to Japan around like April of 2019 that everything started to hit me. I'm like, like maybe I should start a Facebook community, but I didn't know what to call it, what to even do with that. Because at the time, like subtle Asian traits was just blowing up like crazy, and I had full intentions to start like a LinkedIn version of subtle Asian traits because I'm not really a funny guy. Like, I like memes, but I'm not very funny, right? I'm more of a serious type of person, so I wanted like a more serious type of environment. But it wasn't until I went to Japan that we went to the Meiji Shrine. We saw people writing their stories on wooden tablets on the wall that we're like, wow, like stories are so powerful. If we actually take a step back and read each other's story and listen to each other, we realize that we have a lot more in common than we think. And that was like the glowing moment where I'm like, this is going to be the premise of Asian Hustle Network. We're going to share stories, right?
Nice.
So, I mean, flashback, we came back to the States. We finally put things to action. We're thinking on the whiteboard, like, okay, like what is the mission? What do we want to do with this? Where do we see this thing happening? Right. But at the same time, it's like we're still working our corporate jobs at the time. Well, it's not going to take off. Like it's not going to do anything, right? Like this is the Asian us is so pessimistic. It's like it's not going to take off.
Wait, so you did all this planning for a Facebook page?
Yeah,
group?
yeah.
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 Because I feel like people throw up Facebook pages a lot that are just on a whim, right? Is there, am I wrong in that?
I don't know the planning and the growth. Meaning, I made a game that was called Picks to Words, like a software phone game, and I thought it had potential, and I made a page and it didn't go anywhere. So I don't know. Anyways,
No, obviously it paid off. I mean, you did something right, right?
Yeah, I guess like I was naively like thinking that this can be something, but I see being in San Francisco, I see a lot of my friends start companies that I felt like they didn't do enough planning or they weren't ready for that extra growth that came along. I didn't want that to be me, right? So I'd rather put in time to like think bigger at that time. I was like, okay, I don't know what caught me at the moment, but my whole mentality of 2018, 19 was like, think big, Bryan, think super big. So that's the mentality that I walked into Asian Hustle Network with was I overstaffed my team at the very beginning. I remember like, we had like 100 members in the community. I already had like 25 people on a roster to be like, okay, this is going to blow up, guys. Be ready.
Wow.
You know, like we didn't want to be a victim of our own success. And lo and behold, like we went super viral like the first month already just by this concept, right? And that was like when I was like, oh, thank God I put in some work because we would been screwed. You know?
Right.
Did you envision it to? I mean, I guess you in essence you're saying you didn't envision it to grow that fast, but meaning like if I think about a group, like I could start a car group for my specific car, but I don't know if it's going to grow or not. So you foresaw it growing, and then you thought it was going to grow, and then you even staffed up. Was that?
Yeah. I had a feeling that I had a product market fit somehow. And it was just a theory in my head. And at that time, I didn't really know much about lean startup and all that stuff and validation. I just went with my gut. I was like, this is going to be something big. You know, I feel like most entrepreneurs, you walk into something, you're like, this is going to be something big. So luckily, I got a bunch of my friends on board to volunteer and help. It was pretty easy when I mentioned that what I want to build was to unite the Asian community. And for the most part, everybody can relate. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's right. We're very divided. There's nothing really like that out there. Go for it, man. If you do it, I'll support you." And that's all I need to hear before I sign them up for a lot of work. You know?
Right. So we're here to support all Asians.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait. So do Indian Americans count? Like the Indian?
Of course. Yeah. South
okay,
Asians
we're taking in Indians. Okay.
I imagine
it's got to be a line somewhere, right?
No, they take anyone. It doesn't matter.
What about where Mongolia hits Siberia? Do we take the Siberians?
We take everyone. Right? Our culture is similar, and that's the point.
White, black, yellow, brown, take it all.
No, but then they're not Asian, right?
But I mean, it's like remember in high school when there was like the Asian Asian club. Like you could have white people in the Asian club or black people in the Asian club. They were just there to experience the Asian culture and find out more about it. So the Asian Hustle Network, the way I'm guessing, the way Bryan's talking about it, it's just anything. It could be anything about hustling, really, but by chance it has a centric Asianness behind it.
Okay, so just don't be non-Asian and lazy.
Yes.
I mean, not just that. I mean, it's okay. You're lazy, but just don't hate. You know, we don't need that negativity.
Okay. I love the inclusiveness. This is good. So, well, I mean, for our listeners, is it more instructive to describe what you? So you're telling us about the beginnings of the Asian Hustle Network. Should we tell people what it is now, or do you want to say more about how it started? I mean, it was you and Maggie, right?
Yeah, it's me. It started with me and Maggie.
Yeah.
It started with me to begin with, but Maggie's my girlfriend. And then
that's why she's the boss.
Yeah, that's why she's the boss. Yeah, I'm a huge analytics guy. So I was looking at the analytics and I saw that our community in the first month was like 80% guys and like 20% female. And that part really bothered me a lot because some of the strongest figures in my life are women, right? And that's when I reached out to Maggie. I'm like, hey, I was more like candid. Hey, babe, I need you to step up. You know,
you need to post 20% more content.
Yeah, I basically asked her to step up, and be a role model, and speak and show that women are the future and they are strong. And then we started staffing our team with a lot of women leaders on the team. At that point, for some odd reason, as partially my fault, that the team was mainly men on the team, and particularly East Asian men. And that's when I realized that, okay, we have a problem. So I started staffing the team with more Southeast Asian, some South Asians, people, and then it became more diverse. Like I have people from the LGBTQ, you know what I mean?
LGBTQT.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Oh, yeah.
Happy face.
I was thinking liquid, the word liquid.
Yeah.
Liquid
so
gender. Anyways, fluid gender.
Yeah. We try to be fully inclusive. Yeah, try to be fully inclusive, everyone. And then we have an adoptee on the team as well. And that really gave me a lot of insight of like, wow, like this is a lot bigger than I thought, right? Just by staffing my team alone.
Yeah. So when you made those changes, what actually changed on your page? Obviously did that help change that gender? So
we actually became like 52% right now and 48% women. Okay. Just because we came up with a lot of different programs. Like last year we had the women empowerment event. We have all women CEOs come on to speak and really motivate the next generation. And to today, the seeds that we're planting, our Instagram is, and our listeners on our podcast are like majority women. And I absolutely love that, right? Because everything we plan for is now we're getting the fruit to our labor.
Yeah. We have trouble getting an equal ratio of women to the show. Not that that's the ultimate goal, but we are dude heavy in our guests. And so it's hard at times to figure out what we can do to change that.
Yeah, something that I think I'm deducting from the emails and the correspondence. I'll message both men and women. I'm an equal opportunity on that. I would absolutely love to have women on that, because my podcast is about careers, the paths of the careers, and what they've learned to teach my audience. And I find that women are apprehensive. Like they either worry how they may look. I've actually had one woman say she fears that she looks too old, and that was her issue for not being on this podcast. I think what I get from the emails and stuff is they also fear being judged. I think that's an unfortunate thing from our society. I'm not blaming them at all. It's just I understand. I mean, I could be Asian. I fear going to a workplace and not getting promoted, but they live in a world of men running the society. So it's I don't know. I don't know why I'm going on this tangent.
Yeah, I feel like it's really important for us to just make a safe environment, right? And it all comes into like branding. Like, what does your brand represent? You know, for us, we always aim for safety and inclusiveness. Like, we want everyone to be a part of this journey. We want to be, for lack of a better word, one big happy family, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so much negativity in our community already. And when you look deeper, it's like there's so many of us are facing trauma, generational trauma, a lot of unlearning, scarcity mindset. We're going through that evolution right now. And I think it's imperative that the brand is like, okay, we're trying to combat that and create a safe environment for everyone.
So how do we understand what Asian Hustle Network is? Is it a place for sharing entrepreneurial stories, or how would you say it? What is?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the word hustle it really encompasses our entire organization. And what I mean by that is like we encourage a lot of people to share, hustles from their family, themselves, what kind of knowledge that they can give back, how can they help other people, how can people rise above corporate ladder and get promoted and all that stuff. We want to hear all about that in Asia Hustle Network, right? With that idea in mind, it's like we center a lot of things that we do around the word hustle and how can we elevate our community. I mean, particularly we're this is pretty it's not really announced yet, but we're launching our accelerator program. And why? We want to continuously invest in our community because that's never quite been there before, right? And when we were planning the AHN conference in Las Vegas for April 2022, the last week to kick off Asian Heritage Month with the same intention. How come it took this long for an Asian American conference to come about? Right? When we create this conference,
like you're doing like a convention at a convention center?
Yeah.
Is that, okay.
So we're still booking a venue right now.
Yeah.
We're still in the plans. So it's gonna be Las Vegas for sure. It's gonna kick out Asian Heritage Month.
Oh yeah. Sign me up.
Yeah, I hope to see you guys there. And when we're doing research, we're like, holy moly, like there's no Asian professional conference out there. We're the first ones.
Right.
God damn it. Yeah. Now it's back to my figment of imagination. What I envision what a conference would be.
There better be a cocktail mixer.
Oh yeah, there is one.
Nice.
When did you happen, or did you leave your full-time job and you're full time on AHN now?
Yeah. It's almost been 2 years now, believe it or not. So I
left my Asian hustling full time.
Yeah. What was kind of the pivotal point where you were, or when you chose that? What were some of the factors?
Oh man, I had this full intention that when I turn 30, I don't want to work for anyone. I want to work for myself. So 2 weeks before I turned 30, I put my 2 weeks notice in, and then I left without a plan.
On your birthday? Oh, okay.
That's how it's done.
Sink or swim, baby.
I know. I feel so attached to my job before that it was a huge part of my identity. Like everything about me was like, Bryan, the software engineer, or he's really smart, blah blah blah. And that was a huge part of my identity. I had to let go because I felt like I needed to give back and I need to do more. And I guess like the first 3 months was like, who am I? Why? How come I have troubles buying like lunch because I feel broke every day? Just going through like the I can't do it part, just telling yourself over and over in your head that I can do this. That was the hardest part of like, man, like what am I doing? And then I feel like when that happens, like the universe sort of just helps you or tests you out, right? Like all of a sudden I had to start building a house as I'm jumping off a cliff. And then that's how I learned about sponsorships. I'm like, oh wait, we can get sponsorship money. What the hell is that? Like, I have no idea how that works,
Yeah.
Or sometimes I get tested because I get a recruiter reach out to me. And back in the day, I used to make, over like around like high six figures, right? For my job. And I used to get tested. I'm like, damn it, they're offering me like $500,000 package to go back to a job. I refuse.
Wow.
So that's this mentality in my head that I was like, I don't care what it takes. I'm gonna stay solo and I'm gonna build this for the community, right? And a part of me has a lot to prove because I want to prove that if you're building inside the Asian American space, it can still be very lucrative. And I have no examples to look at still, so I'm just building off what I think is right.
Wait, so what did you walk away from? Were you a Apple app developer, or what exactly software wise was so lucrative? Because that's hard to walk away from a big salary.
Yeah. I used to work as a site reliability engineer, and that is like the most in demand in the Bay. It's extremely hard to find a skill set. I would say that I fell into that by accident because one day when I first started my career, my manager's like, "Do you want to learn something really new?" I'm like, "Okay." And ever since then, I got pigeonholed into site
Bryan
reliability
smart. Let's make him do it.
Yeah, and I couldn't find like a different genre of jobs. Like once you're in there, you're stuck. But it's like so niche that it's like it's necessary for each company to hire someone.
Wow. Okay.
And feel free to not say anything you're comfortable with. Can you talk about financially? That's the jump from that and then into Asian Hustle Network, because for some people, taking a leave of absence, a prolonged amount of time away from work is devastating. There's some people may, if you're lucky enough to save up 2 years worth of savings or 5 years, and most people don't even have enough to cover 1 month. So can you just talk about leaving your job, how much you had and what you had as a backup?
What did you jump off the cliff with?
I'm very transparent. So when I left my job that year in salary alone, I made $235,000. And that was a lot. That was a lot each month.
Yeah, that's a bunch of stock options.
I think at my bank at that time, I probably had a little over 100,000. So that I had a little bit of runway, but keep in mind that my rent was like insane in the SF, and like eating a bowl of pho was like $30. And it just goes out quick, right? So it's just really painful to leave and still try to build something in the Bay at that time. Hence, that's why I moved to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That was really difficult, and it's really like almost like penny pinching. It's like like I don't know, when it rains it pours, right? When I left my job, it's like my water pipe broke and all these things broke.
Oh,
like, what the heck? Just kick me down. Like IRS came after me, a tax bill. I'm like, why now?
Well, luckily in Vegas you can get a nice bowl of pho for like $9.
Yeah. Yeah, it went like the first. I didn't pay myself like until like a year and a half into like everything, right? So I was living off like I already cut my salary in half. Now I'm living off like half of that, and it doesn't get replenished. Like it keeps going one direction. I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I almost feel like I'm going to a Super Mario racing game where it's like you're going to the checkpoint. And at one point, I was pretty devastated because I'm like, oh my God, I'm really running out of money so quickly. And you're looking around and your friends are like buying nice houses, nice cars, and getting married. I'm like, oh my God, my whole life is delayed, because I refuse to come back to a job. Like, and then that's when it occurs to me, like, I chose this pain, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to make the most of it. And that's when things started turning around, because you would do things you would never do unless you're pushed against the corner. So I started cold calling corporations, talking to as many entrepreneurs as I can, finding advisors. Like, how the hell do you guys make money?
Yeah.
And that was the hardest thing I had to figure out, was like, how does Asian Hustle Network make money?
Wait, so you basically had a very popular Facebook page and you're trying to figure out, how do I make this a business? Is that the dilemma that you're facing?
That was the dilemma I was facing, but at the same time, I was like, I don't know why I was telling myself that I'm not doing this for the money. Right. And because I had that mentality, like I kind of did everything for free. Like I think I held like 8 events that changed other people's lives for free. Yeah. And I would just spend the money, because to me it's like, I'm not doing this for the money. Like I just want to help the community. And that went on for like a year. So I kept draining my savings. Until one point where I guess someone kind of spoke some sense into me. He was like, you continue down this path, Bryan, the whole thing's going crashing down. And the community loses something very valuable. You don't find a sustainable model. And that's when I had to change my mindset of like, making money for a good mission is not a bad thing. That was so hard for me to grasp, right? And that's when I started exploring like other options to make money for Asian Hustle Network. It's like we can get sponsorships, we can start a podcast, we can do this and that. So it pushed me to develop a lot of skill sets I never had before, because before I'm just strictly a developer. I don't know how to like talk to people and raise money and whatnot. Yeah. But as I was growing, it was like, okay, like now I can create a sustainable business model through our directory, offering value. Now people are subscribing to our network. I can host private events for corporations.
Wait, there's a directory?
We have a directory that's paid.
Do you need a Vegas realtor in your directory?
we always need more people in the directory. It gets more valuable that way.
I'm gonna check out this directory.
Yeah, but you're just falling, just feeling desperate at the time, you know. You're like,
I love
it's
helping
worse.
Asians buy homes.
Yeah.
Because they have great jobs.
So in 2018, you left your job. You had 100K in the bank. How many members was AHN at that moment?
It wasn't enough to be anything impressive. I think it was like 40,000 or something. You know.
Woo! I'm impressed.
Yeah.
That still
Wow.
sounds like a lot. And then at that point, you're draining your 100K out of the bank. At
Yeah.
what point did AHN actually make some money? Because you're bleeding money, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
There's no profit.
Probably like a year and a half in, we're starting to like turn things around, and that was like Asian Heritage Month of like 2020.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's when I realized like, oh wow, like companies want our target audience. Like,
Yeah.
and then I realized that there's a lot of companies I don't want to work with, but those that believe the Asian, like in uplifting the Asian community, I'll work with you guys. Right. That's when I started formulating like a business plan and like, okay, like we're gonna do this and that. And that's hence like, and then
Now I'm really curious what companies you don't want to work with.
I'm not gonna say. I don't like to burn bridges.
Okay.
Well, talk about, is it a morality issue? Like talk about a high level stuff that you could mention about
like
that?
a porn stuff?
Yeah. I guess you could say it's a morality issue. I just don't like companies that are led by people who put down other communities of color before. So that's something that I personally don't like.
Gotcha.
And then so yeah, you at 40,000 members in 2018, and then so you already, I mean, when was the that viral growth where you said the first month? When was the first month? That was 2017?
No, the viral growth happened like 2019, like towards the end.
But then
yeah,
okay.
so the idea behind Asian Hustle Network started in 2018, but the community didn't officially launch until late 2019. For clarification.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Get your story straight, Liem.
So
get this story straight.
So then it jumped like from zero. I mean, in 2019, how many members did you have before you launch? Or was it literally at zero at that point?
It was literally at zero at that point.
So I mean, you had you said, did you have like 25 staff members, or that was after that?
That was like getting people on board with the planning process at that point.
Volunteers.
Volunteers.
Yeah.
That's right. It's like at that point I was so sure I'm gonna be a nonprofit. Everything I do sounds like a damn nonprofit. And then I realized that it's better for us to be a C corp, because as we're incorporating for a nonprofit, there was a lot of restrictions of what we could do with the funds,
right?
Hurdles that it didn't really make sense for us to go down that route.
So 2019, you opened the doors at zero, and then you were able to, within 1 month, like jump to 40,000.
In 1 month, it was like 10,000, and then hit 20, 30, 40 in like a month and a half.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think part of that success? I mean, I know you said you were planning and whatnot. So the 25 staff members at that point, was it them blasting their social media, or is that part of? Was that, I don't know? Was that in your plans?
That was in my plans. Yes. So I particularly picked people over the world.
Say that again.
I picked people in the team all over the world.
So around the world.
They're not just in California. They're not just in New York. They're in every place. Singapore, Australia, UK, with the intention that I wanted to leverage their quote unquote weak connections to other Asians that I have never met before. That I kind of have a theory that they'll resonate with our mission. And for the longest time, we were actually growing really, really fast in Australia, to the point where we hosted 2 events out there.
Nice.
Two pre-conference events out in Melbourne and in Brisbane. And that was like the most gnarly experience I ever did, because we planned an event in Australia to a country I had never been to. With a team I never met in life.
Oh wow.
And we're just like, hopping on Zoom calls late at night, like for a couple hours, working through the details. There's a lot of trust involved. figuring out how to send international money without the high fees, you know, and getting that money back too was like it was a huge leap of faith. And honestly, they blew me away. Like the level of production was like far above anything I ever imagined a volunteer team would ever do.
Nice.
Wow. Right.
I visited Australia back in 2006 or something, and I was surprised at how many Asian faces I saw in Sydney, because the American stereotype and the American view of Australia is very
Crocodile
limited.
Dundee.
Yeah, but if you look on a freaking globe, what's the closest thing to Australia is a bunch of Asia.
Yeah.
So there was a ton of Vietnamese boat people literally landed in Australia, and I was just shocked to. We actually went to a pho restaurant in Australia, so it's crazy to think, hey, look, there's a bunch of Asians in Australia. Who would have guessed that would be the case?
There's a lot of Asians there, and I almost feel like they have like such a California vibe, because they're next to the water. They're very fashionable. It's
look pretty laid back.
Yeah, it looks pretty laid back, to be honest. It's pretty unique too, because I remember talking to them. They're like, oh, like Asian American entrepreneurs are like top of the top. You guys are the best. And when I look at them, I'm like, you guys are a lot better than us over here. So it's like, I don't know, just perceptions coming from, and it's really cool hearing their stories, especially their parents' story, because a lot of them came to Australia to seek a better life, just how our parents came to America for us to seek a better life. Very similar stories. And then I started hearing this common theme about Asians in Canada and Asians in the UK, and it's the same story, right?
Yeah.
And it's like
Vancouver's mostly Chinese, right?
Yeah.
Joe, can you attest?
Yeah. From what I've heard, yes. I haven't been there. I can't verify. But yeah, it has a disproportionate amount of Asians compared to a lot of other places in Canada.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about Vancouver, Canada, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not Vancouver, Washington?
Yeah, that's where I'm at. So I just want to make sure that we're talking about the right thing here.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's only a 3-hour drive, whatever.
So Asian Hustle Network started as a Facebook page. Is there more to it? Is there tweeting? Is there a website? Is there...
Yeah. There's a lot more on AsianHustleNetwork.com. And come January, that's when we're going to make the full conversion over to like an Asian BuzzFeed model. And the way that we plan to do that is like we want to reach out to all the other Asian magazines who are standalone and be able to stream their content onto our platform, because we have the distribution for it. Right.
Nice.
And what I realized in a very sad light is that most Asian magazines don't last that long because there's no solid business model behind it. And it's really hard to maintain passion over X amount of years. So shout out to all the
people finish college and they go to their career.
Yeah. So shout out to people that are still making it happen. But right now it's like, I feel like my challenge is how can I make that sustainable for everyone else? And a new problem that happens to me is like, I want to help like new Asian creatives, directors break into, a bigger audience, because I feel like a lot of talent out there are still undiscovered, especially in the Asian community. And when you look at like Netflix and whatnot, you see the same 5 actors. You look at your movies, the Marvel movies, the same one Asian guy in all the Marvel movies. It's like, it's not that.
It's getting better.
Yeah, we have 2 now or 3. I don't know.
Do we talk about Shang-Chi now, or do you want to do that later?
Yeah,
are we down with Shang-Chi?
Yeah, I have not watched Shang-Chi yet.
Yeah,
but we actually bought out a movie theater in Boston for students actually to watch the movie.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're doing our part to sort of promote as well, but I'm waiting until it comes on Netflix or something, or Hulu, so I can watch it.
Yeah, it's on the Disney Plus network right now.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's because it's under that Marvel. I think all the Marvel movies are on the Disney.
I didn't know it was even out yet for streaming. That's good to know.
A couple weeks ago or something.
Yeah, a few weeks ago. So Bryan, for the AHN, on the surface, when people join up, they think of it probably as just a way to kind of network, right? What do you think how would you describe it better for someone that's just coming new to it? Like, what other services should they know about or things that AHN is doing.
You can buy out my theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, I see AHN as the ecosystem where I want to like hear stories, promote each other, uplift each other, create conferences. So what I'm saying is that I want like a whole ecosystem where it's like the more experienced Asian entrepreneurs give back their knowledge to the new ones as they make it through the process. They share their stories that this is not easy, but it's worth it, right? And when they make it to the top, it's like we want to have them back at our conference, right? And once
Gotcha.
they come back to our conference, it's like, you know, maybe perhaps I want to. That's why we're starting our accelerator program. We want the really well-off people to invest back into our community, right? So we want like a huge ecosystem and hub for all things Asian, not Asian excellence per se, but like Asian hustle. Like we want us to be more seen in society.
So when you say there's an accelerator program where someone invests back in the community,
Yes.
I know what that means, but I don't actually know what that means. Like, what does that really look like? Like, I understand those words, but what's actually happening? Is it like some successful person mentors somebody or gives money to a cause, or how does this?
So I'm thinking more of like a syndication type of syndicate fund where it's like, you know, we're gonna rotate a roster like accredited investors up to like you invest $1,000 at a bare minimum or higher than that into a fund until it becomes like a $1 or $2 million fund.
Mm-hmm.
And what we plan to do with that is like we want to make sure that the funding is reinvested to young talent or new talent or any people that aspiring entrepreneurs, right? So young talent is not the right word. So aspiring entrepreneurs, and allow them to sort of like take that risk and reduce the stress and see their ideas valid, you know. But also when someone's invested into another person's company, they're also invested into the success of the company. So that actually encouraged a lot of mentorship that we're still lacking within the community.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I was planning to envision how the accelerator would work. And I don't even know how this happened, but like I don't know why a lot of people come to me to raise money. Right? They're like, Bryan,
you got the people.
Can you help me raise money for my company?
Yeah.
And I didn't know that was a skill set I had. So I ended up helping like 15 or 16 companies raise money, and some of them were able to raise up to like $5 to $10 million. Just that's when I started to realize like, wow, like maybe I do have a knack for this. How can I make it more efficient to help?
Yeah, that's crazy. I also need money for my company. Bryan, you're the man I've been waiting for.
And actually, let's run with that for a second. If someone like Emmett, or someone that said those words to you, like said, "Hey, I need money for my business," what are your questions? What are your pre-qualifying questions that you usually ask them?
How do I game this system? No? Oh, okay.
I typically ask them like, what is their company? What's their mission? Right? What is their growth? What is the money going to be used for? How are they structured? You know, why are they even raising? Because I think the misconception is like raising is a great thing, but raising sometimes you give up control and you bring in unwanted investors that tell you to do what to do. Yeah. Right. So I always ask them like, what's their mission behind this? Because if you can demonstrate that they're literally on the verge of exponential growth and they're doing something great for society. One particular app that one particular founder that came to me that I'm so inclined to help her because what she's creating is like a new food delivery app that doesn't undercut the restaurant owners.
Oh, I like that.
And I'm like, man, this is such a great company. Like, this is what we need, right? And so I'm more inclined to like help people when he comes to me with such a great mission. So in essence, like I find people that are good by nature and not really mercenaries. It's really easy to find someone that's a mercenary, right? With the way they pitch and the way they talk about the customer, it's more like I just have to squeeze all money out of them type of thing. I'm like, I'm not inclined to help you to do those type of things because I want people who genuinely want to make the world a better place.
Yeah. That's how I approach being a realtor. It's not how much money can I maximally make. You know, it's not commission focused. It's how do I help people get into these homes? How do I help this person sell their home and move on to their next life? And if I do everything great, then I'll get a commission at the end. And whatever I have to do to get the best result, like I would much rather have a happy client. You know, I'd much rather have a great result that like I'm not gonna say I had a transaction where I didn't. Yeah, I've had a couple transactions where I didn't make money, and I put the money. The money wasn't first, right? But anything I can do to sacrifice to get the person the result, I've done that. So and and they're not all like that. There are some transactions that are super easy and great and profitable, but when it's hard, you find ways to help people. Yeah, ideally,
I like the mindset a lot. It's always about helping other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the AHN, dang, I had a question. I forgot.
The convention is coming this summer. Or what's the plan?
Yes. So it's the set dates are April 28th and 29th of 2022
in Vegas.
In Las Vegas, yes.
Can I cosplay to this convention?
If you want, we're not gonna say no.
Not that kind of convention.
It makes it easier to find you, I guess.
Okay. I will be in the Mario Kart gear.
I'm trying to think. I had this question for like 30 minutes now, and
it was a burning question.
Yeah. I think it's. Oh, okay. So the idea of making money off a Facebook group, like I guess that should have been obvious, I guess, to some degree. So it's crazy for me to hear your story, Bryan, where you created this Asian Hustle Network and then you're able to make a profit, or I think you're making a profit of some sort. You're at least able to sustain yourself to keep the group sustainable. Is there any thoughts where you think, like, in the beginning someone could have stole it, this group could have gone down to zero? Was there any risk that you took? I mean, I know you burned through some of your money in the beginning, but when I say that, all that, what comes to mind?
I never really held back when people asked me, like, how'd you start your group? Mm-hmm. I always told them step by step. This is exactly what I did, and I find that execution is everything. Even if someone told you today, like, how do you make X amount of money, you may have followed that step by step, and it may not work for you because of your personality, right? So when at the very beginning, people were like, I saw a bunch of groups that even copy our text and colors down to like T, right? And to be honest, like, I wasn't mad or disappointed anyway. I actually reached out. Some of them reached out to me and asked me how I did it, and I told them exactly how I did it. But I think one people that always underestimate is, like, passion goes a long way, and that when you're building community, it's a lot of ungrateful work most of the time, because you're putting in all this time and effort, and someone's just like straight up finds something wrong with you and start yelling at you and all this stuff. So I guess a lot of people couldn't really get over that hump, right? Mm-hmm. But the communities that I want to shout out to is like Settled Asian Real Estate. Like the founder of that reached out to me during his initial days, and I gave him all the instructions. He took my advice, and today I think they just hit like 10,000 members like yesterday or something. Wow. And they actually had a startup come out of their community as well that just went to YC and raised $5.5 million in their seed round. Nice. And I was like, man, like, that's the power of community, of abundance, right? I keep telling people too, I actually want to see more organizations like Asian Hustle Network, because it helps us all when we see more communities like this, right? Because I don't think that there should be a gatekeeping between one or two communities. I think there should be a lot more if you want to continue driving change. Because in retrospect, 80,000 sounds great, but you're trying to make changes in the world, especially even not just the world, like changes in the United States. 80,000 is just a drop in the bucket. You're not gonna be seen or be heard, right? So we need ourselves in like the millions, like mobilizing the community in order for us to make permanent change and not just like temporary change.
We need a network, not a bottleneck.
Yeah.
Did you kind of know ahead of time that? I guess it's, to me, it's still, my mind is still stuck on.
How did you see the future?
How did you see?
How did you know the shit was going to work?
Like, okay, let me just walk you through my train of thought.
That's the way.
So if I was going to create a Facebook group and I'm like, okay, I want to help Asians, like, I can't even fathom, like, hey, this could actually make money. Like, I guess that's, how did you know that, or how did you foresee that?
I did not foresee that. Like I said before, like, I did this naively because I wanted change. I was so upset with everything. Right.
Use your anger.
That's when the universe sort of guided me towards like the right people that really like sat down with me and be like, this is how you're going to generate some income. Like these are some of the prices that you can mark up. But a lot of it, obviously, you can't just sit back and expect things to happen to you. You have to go out there and like just hustle for it, right? So I talked to not community leaders, other community leaders, but I asked like nonprofit organizations. I asked media companies, how do you guys make money? Right. And most of the time they'd be like, okay, I make money through subscription, newsletters, sponsorships. And those words kept popping up in my mind that sounds really like unfamiliar to me at that time. So when I looked into it, I realized that a lot of big corporations have a budget that they had to spend by the end of the year just on marketing, you know, and they're not going to just spend it on anything, but when you're extremely niche and you hit that criteria, they'll drop like 6 figures or whatnot on sponsorship.
Nice.
Right. Yeah.
At what point did that? So you're saying you talked to some people that told you about getting sponsorships, basically.
Yeah.
Prior to that, about what time, what year did you not even know about sponsorships? So, or I guess when did you talk to them? What year?
Yeah. Again, like ideation happened in 2018. A lot of planning, getting up the team, getting ready. Started like tweeting and blogging, and then execution happened in 2019, November 2019. Went viral just in time to hit COVID in 2020. And then that's when things started really popping off. I'm like, oh yeah, and then the Asian community is really coming together and searching for a community. And the Asian Hustle Network was right there at the right time to sort of take everyone in and give everyone a lot of comfort. And from that moment, a lot of things happened during the start of COVID. I actually helped founded Hate is a Virus campaign. I'm not sure you guys heard of that, but we actually host a bunch of rallies across the United States to stop Asian hate. Right. And the campaign went super viral, hit like 30 million impressions, got sponsored by Hennessy. Awesome. All these like other corporations started to hop on that. And that's when the model came around that, Hate is a Virus can actually get sponsorship money just to like pay for rallies and like all these things. And that's from that experience, I learned that I can actually redirect some of that to Asian Hustle Network. Right. And that's when Asian Heritage Month was around the corner. And I think someone DM'd me or something, was like, can Asian Hustle Network speak in my company? We'll pay you $15,000 for 45 minutes. I'm like, what the heck? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, buddy, get it.
That was like the light bulb moment. I was like, holy crap! Like you make something happen from this. And then
no, you got to negotiate. You got to be. It's 15,000 and a bottle of Hennessy, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I just like to know that while I'm drinking Henny, I'm supporting anti-Asian hate.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
And like,
yes.
There are some companies that drop like $100K check to like Hate is a Virus during that campaign.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, that's when I was like looking into like, I didn't know marketing was such a huge profitable field. And agencies are starting to reach out to us and be like, hey, like, can we collaborate with you? Like, we'll pay you X amount. And then I started looking to the agency model. I'm like, this is how you guys make a shit ton of money, and that's when I brought everything back and was like, okay, I can make this sustainable for the community, right? Yeah. And that was a main thought of like when I was running out of money hella fast. I was like, I can make this sustainable now.
You can't help anybody if you can't buy lunch.
Now I know how to hire, what to look for, what kind of talent I need to look for. And it's like, okay, like we can make this work for sure.
Was there any point where you looked at your finances and said, holy shit, I could only last 3 more months, 6 more months or something?
You have no idea. Plenty of times. There's plenty of times where I was just really sad, to be honest. Like I was like really, really sad because I'm just like, I just want to do this for the Asian community. I just want to see a better generation. And then, and I also felt kind of sad. It's like almost like self-pity in a way where it's like no one really knows what I'm going through right now. Because also I'm projecting someone that's like strong and, keeping the community together. Because at that time, it's like we needed someone strong, right? But there's a lot of infighting already of like, Asian hate was rising. A lot of different opinions, like we should defend our community with guns and whatnot. It's like,
rooftop Koreans.
I was thinking the same thing.
So it was a tough time. I couldn't really. the sheer amount of messages I was getting at that moment too when Asian crime was going off the hook was like, I think I was getting like 600, 700 DMs like a week.
Wow.
And that seriously, like, for lack of a better word, fucked with my mental health a lot. Because all I see was like problems after problems when I was going broke myself. It's just like, how do I solve everything? I'm poor myself. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see the FBI report where they said they did record 75% higher Asian hate during the last or this year?
Yeah.
Since COVID?
Since COVID.
It's still extremely high. The numbers are really ridiculously high. And the job's not done, you know. Except now it's like I feel like my mindset's in a better state because you guys are right earlier. Like you can't if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone. So I spent most of 2021 taking care of my team and myself, and now we find ourselves in positions that we could do more. You know, we help organize some of the elderly patrol in Chinatowns because guess what? When people don't have to worry about when their next meal is coming, they can actually worry about the community.
Yeah. I wish we had known you when you were struggling. We could have totally bought you lunch. If you end up struggling again, call us for lunch. We got you.
We'll take you to $9 pho.
I hope those days are behind me. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, when you did the anti-Asian or Stop the Asian Hate campaign or
Hate is a virus.
Hate is a virus.
Yeah.
Was that directly from AHN pushing that, or was that a separate entity that connected to you, or how did that work out?
So, shout out to my co-founder Michelle Hanabusa. So Michelle posted inside Asian Hustle Network. She said, "We need to come together and stop the Asian hate." And I looked at her profile and I'm like, all right, I think she looks like someone that can execute because I saw like a bunch of like, activism stuff. So I DM'd her. I was like, hey, like, she still has my DM that she shows off during our galas and everything. And she's like, I DM her. I'm like, hey, I love what you're doing. Let's formalize this into an organization. And mind that at that time I was broke as heck from AHN and Ray. Now, and out of my mouth, it's like, oh, I'm forming another company to be extra broke. But my heart was always there at the right time. And then another girl, Tammy Cho, DM'd her from a different. She also tweeted this too. She also DM'd her from Twitter, and us three came together, and we're like, okay, like let's do something for the Asian community, right? And that's when everything I learned from Asian Hustle Network after that point, combined with people with people that can actually like market stuff and put things in order and make it pretty. The campaign went like super viral. Like, it got picked up by all these outlets. I was on ABC 7 News. I was on Business Insider. I was whatever magazine you name it. I was on there. But we're trying to like mainly spread like the message that we need to stop Asian hate, right? And I feel like at that point, I felt like talk was cheap. I wanted to see more action, so we like raised the community fund and then started hosting like rallies across the United States. The first time in my life where I stepped on the podium in front of like 1,000 people in San Jose, like very passionate, angry Asian Americans. That I felt at that point, it was like, I don't know, it's hard to describe it when you're on stage.
Did you feel like Martin Luther King?
In some ways, yes. I don't want to say that, but like, it just
we the people. No, that's wrong.
It can easily go either way depending on
the mob might tear you apart.
No, you can feel like you can do it. I know it sounds really bad, but it feels like you can purvey, like you can make the crowd like violent or not violent, right? And it was that energy that I was like, oh crap, like there's a lot of power in this, and I need to be very responsible with what I say and how I encourage the community.
Right? You could be MLK or you can be Malcolm X.
Yeah, I was trying not to be Malcolm X, right? And I just felt that like the emotions and pure emotions. This is a point where you're on stage and like 1,000 people are looking at you and like almost like straight emotions and tears in their eyes of anger and frustration.
Yeah.
And it was like up to you. And you have like imposter syndrome in the middle of your speech on stage. You're like, why me? Like I'm just a nobody. Like I'm just a normal person.
No, but I think you did the organizing and the collecting and the connecting that somehow you became the focus of this need, right? I think that's part of AHN's success is that you hopped into obviously a void where something was needed. So it seems like you know, since you're running it, then the need is, hey, we need you to be a public figure too, perhaps in that moment.
That was a scary part, right? I just one thing after another, but at that point I was like, I kept encouraging the community to be positive, and we need to look out for each other. You know, we need to speak up. I was like, I kept encouraging those words. It's like we're no longer a generation where we have to assimilate. We can be a generation where we can stand out and be loud, because that's how you play the game nowadays, right? You're not getting anything done unless you're loud and you take up space and you speak up.
Yeah, you know, that's excellent. I like that point a lot.
Yeah.
In a lot of Asian cultures, it is very common to not be loud. I mean, that's probably the simplest way to put it, but to not be outspoken or to be outside of social norms. So you're right. A lot of first generation Asians, like our parents, you know, just trying to get by, right? Put your head down and do the work and don't cause any trouble.
So there's actually a network that came before Asian Hustle Network that I draw inspiration from. They were actually a TV network. It's called AZN Networks. And
I remember that back in the day. It was on TV. It was on real cable, right?
Yeah. They closed in 2008. I felt like their mission was amazing, but they were a little bit too early for their time. And they're literally telling our parents to stand out. So the timing wasn't right. And I feel like nowadays, like the timing is excellent, right? Like we can build off of this now and continue motivating the younger generation, our generation, that where we are amazing. It is cool to be Asian, and that we should speak out more.
Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of Korean culture through entertainment. You know, obviously Korean boy bands, Korean bands, K-pop is super popular. I think anime has been a huge influence in younger generations of exposure and excitement about Asian culture. And a lot of, I mean, I'll mention Shang-Chi real quick. I think there's a pretty cool portrayal of kind of the Asian American experience. For anybody who hasn't seen it, it's kind of a neat window to say, hey, look, you know, everybody else can see kind of what it's like sometimes to be an Asian American, where, look, bro, I'm not Chinese. I'm not actually from another country. I grew up here. I speak English, but everybody sees me as Asian. So it was kind of a cool portrayal and to a widespread audience. So that was really neat. So I think it's cool that we're getting inroads into popular entertainment, right? So Crazy Rich Asians. Crazy Rich Asians, it was kind of a movie where the lead romantic dude was put forth as, you know, super, you know, dashing Prince Charming, an awesome, you know, male attractive role, right? So there's all these firsts that are coming through. And then now Netflix has ported in a lot of Korean TV and movies. So I think just that volume of exposure is, you know, obviously Koreans have a great, the Korean TV and movie industry has a great production value, and it's enough to where Netflix is saying, hey, we could just use these TVs and movies and present this content just as it is.
Let's not forget Parasite, which won Best Picture, you know.
I mean, awesome. I mean, that weird, what is it? The Squid Games is the most popular thing in the world.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. I mean, that's kind of a weird thing, but
I mean, a lot of Asian media used to be way more, you know, niche, and you know, you had to kind of seek it out, you know, like I'm a big fan of like a lot of Asian action shit, like The Raid and Tony Jaa movies and yada yada yada. But I feel like exactly what you're saying is becoming more mainstream and more recognized on a global scale, and that's really cool.
Our time is now.
And also time is 9:07. So Bryan, if you want to stay on, we'd love it, but if you have to go, you could go.
No, I'll stay on a little bit longer. I feel like I'm finally getting in the mood. I had like a long day.
Okay. Yeah, just let us know whenever. We'll just continue shooting the shit.
Yeah.
The other week I went to a party. I told this story probably to I think Joe and Emmett already, but I was hanging out with some friends, and one of my friends at the party, he's a half black, half Indian guy. But for the sake of the story, he was black.
Like Native American Indian.
Yeah, Native American. He was at the party, and then his daughter was there. And then I remembered him mentioning his daughter likes K-pop. His daughter is 12 or 13 years old. Mm-hmm. And I was super interested because as having Asians in mainstream media. So then I asked her, like, hey, what's your favorite K-pop song? Can you put it on? So they had like a music player where you could just connect your phone and choose a song, and it'd play on YouTube. So she chose a BTS song, and then I think there was a girl band, and then another BTS song. But was it
Mamamoo?
I don't remember.
Okay. Sorry.
And then it was just, to me, this moment. I don't know if I don't think Emmett, being half Vietnamese, he probably doesn't get to feel this. Maybe Bryan, you could maybe connect with me on this. There's a moment at that part at that night for me where I was like, this is fucking awesome. There's somebody that's not Asian who's like really into Asian stuff and showing me that they like it. And I was like, I haven't felt this since my high school friends making fun of Bruce Lee. So there's a difference between saying Bruce Lee is cool and them also still making fun of Bruce Lee. There's some people will try to tell me like, oh, Bruce Lee's really cool. I'm like, well, yeah, he's great. But he didn't do, unfortunately, whatever happened with culture and society, I don't feel like he did there wasn't a massive positive outcome with Bruce Lee, in my opinion. Some people might, I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying that at all. He did more good, but still my high school friends were making fun of Bruce Lee. I'm sorry. Let me add to the story. My high school was a bunch of white people. I was like one of the few Asians. So for the white people my white high schooler friends were making fun of Bruce Lee. So that was something that I had to put up with. So for me, I'm 39 years old now. So you're talking about 21 years later. Can I feel this moment where I'm like, fuck, this is awesome. This little moment, this little fucking little moment for me to feel, yes, Asians are getting in the mainstream and not being picked on. So
Asians are cool now. Yeah, I think part of the problem with Bruce Lee is he was a impressive kung fu fighter, and all of the respect and admiration to him was purely based on he could kick me in the face so fast that I don't have a chance. But it didn't carry any of the other status or social acceptance. You know, it was purely that physical activity or that athletic ability. You know, aside from that, he's making funny noises when he's about to punch your face.
Yeah.
It almost worked to perpetuate what I guess traditional Westerners would think of when they thought about, like, you know, Asians in general. Yeah,
because they could say the ching chang chong thing. They're like, oh, Bruce Lee's saying that too. It's like, not really, but yeah. So.
Yeah.
Bryan, tell me about Maggie. So did you meet her prior to starting AHN, or did you meet her through? Did you already create AHN and then meet her?
We were already dating for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And she knows this too. I always tell her a bunch of ideas for like the entire previous 2 years of what I want to do.
Yeah.
Well, I always felt like I was just talking and I wasn't backing up anything, right? And then I don't know, there's something about like when I turned 30, it was like that moment where it's like I felt like it was all or nothing, right?
You did it, man.
All these years of just talking, like I just wanted to put things into motion, right? And she's very supportive, to be honest. Like I don't think she had once said anything negative about any of my ideas. So I think that I'm very blessed and grateful to have her in my life, because I think that it can easily go the other way if someone wasn't as supportive. And mind that at the time, I wouldn't say that I was the most confident person, but over time, like I was very passionate overly passionate, but like not very confident in my own abilities. But over time, the confidence caught up to the passion, and now I feel like this is just the beginning. I feel like I can do anything, and that's a lot of it has to do with Maggie believing into me at the very beginning.
Did you meet her in 2017 or 2016?
2016. Yeah, I actually met her in Halloween. Was
there by any chance Halloween party where you cosplaying an anime character?
I was a Pikachu. You're right.
Was there
gets him every time?
Was there a moment when you're bleeding money creating AHN, you left your job? Was there any moment where you're like, fuck, Maggie's probably going to leave me. She doesn't believe, like in your mind, did you think that?
She never made me feel that way at all. In fact, I felt even worse when she was paying for like my lunches and dinners at one point.
Yeah.
Right. All she was saying, babe, keep going, don't quit. Wow. And I just made me felt comfort and shit at the same time.
Oh yeah. No,
I was just like, oh, I have someone to take care of me, but I have someone to take care of me.
Yeah, I'll if you ever want any three of us on your podcast ever, feel free. I'm a software engineer. I've been doing it for 20 years. I'm in real estate. Joe he's doing like electrical engineering stuff. I think I've
been hustling for 25 years.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to use the restroom really quick.
Oh, I was just telling.
I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, do you want to tell Bryan a little bit what you do, and then
what's that?
I'll jump it. You want to tell Bryan what you do for work, just in case he ever wants to bring you onto his podcast for any reason?
Yeah. Well, I'm an electrical engineer. I've worked for the fiber optic industry. I currently work for the utility industry. That's pretty much it, actually.
Okay. And I keep on telling him, like, I think this is a retirement thing, as in, not retirement. I want this hobby in my retirement also.
The passion.
Yes, exactly. Like your passion for AHN, I feel that with my podcast. I don't have the numbers in viewerships or subscribers, but I feel the magic's there. I hope that it's just a matter of time to get there. So
it's just a matter of time. It's a little bit strategic thinking, but it's a matter of time, right? Because you're gonna have to leverage every single wave that can help you, every single app. You can't just be like, that's for kids and whatnot. That's not the right mentality to grow, right? You have to embrace change if you want to continue rising with the crowd. Yeah, that's my take on it. I never feel like anything's beneath me or above me. Like, if someone's willing to teach me, I'll sit down and learn, right? Yeah. Whether or not I apply something or apply it at all, that one liner or one word can change anyone's life. And that's usually what I look for when I talk to people.
Yes, I'm sharing wisdom to change people's lives on this podcast. I hope.
So when you were starting AHN, I think you mentioned you didn't think that there would be a financial model you didn't even think about that when you started. It's strictly just a passion.
Yeah, I strictly thought about the problems and I wanted solutions.
And was it just when you started draining the 100,000 that you were like, maybe I need to do something, or what was the moment for you there?
When I realized it wasn't when my saving was drained, was when people on my team that actually left their jobs because they believe in our mission.
Wow.
When their money was drained, I felt enormous pressure to make it sustainable, because I feel confident in my own abilities to scrap something up if I have to, like drive Uber or something. But I don't want someone else to do that, especially for my mission, right? Or whatever company mission is. And hearing like stuff like I'm running into financial trouble was like the driving factor for me to be like, we need to be sustainable. I can't change the world and harm my team's life with that, right? And that driving factor of like, I needed to take care of my team so we can do great things together was a driving factor for me to start doing things I would never do.
What are some of the beautiful stories that has happened in the last 4 years or 3 to 4 years of AHN? So
Hennessy, that's a highlight. Went down to Australia, gave a speech in front of 1,000 people.
It wasn't so much the monetary side that was the beautiful moment. The beautiful moment was like seeing the community function on its own now is like a very beautiful thing, like very self-policing, and having people answer questions. When someone I see like a comment, someone's like, someone's like, "What's the point of Asian Hustle Network?" Like in one of the comments, and someone was like, "This is a community so we can support each other and hear each other's story." I'm like, that's beautiful.
Nice.
You know, to hear other people say it that's not me, and like talk to strangers about that. I was like, man, that's a beautiful moment. And I guess other beautiful moments was, I guess, like, all right, this is considered beautiful in my mind, but like I had a couple of people last year reach out to me, and they're like they were contemplating suicide. And to me, I was like, holy moly, like that's crazy. And they told me that there were people in the community that they resonated the story with, and they actually talked to them, and they talked to them out of depression, right? And that was like a holy moly moment where it's like, wow, like this is a lot bigger than me. Like
that's awesome. Yeah.
This is a lot bigger than me now. And that's like my why nowadays when things get really, really hard. There are days where I'm just like, I just want to shut everything down. There's so much unsung work. I just get
don't do it, Bryan.
You know,
we need you.
There
we
are
need
those
you.
days, like any entrepreneurs, right? You just
don't suicide the network.
Like, yeah, you just have those days where you just want everything to like stop because you're so busy, and you're just like just working all the time, and you just wanted to stop. But then when you get moments like those, like dang, like this is awesome. Like this is what I wanted for the community. This is what I wanted when I was at my darkest moments, and when I was starting out in my own career. I wanted something like this. And seeing this happen for other people, it's one of those moments where I'm like, this is why I do what I do. Let's keep going.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. What are some challenges that you face?
A lot.
It could be personal, but I was asking at AHN. I don't know. Either way, yeah. What challenges all around do you face, or what are some things that you're looking to improve?
Yeah, I guess the challenges that I faced was like I get into a habit of like I get into a very unfocused habit sometimes where I want to be a part of a lot of things that drives change. Right. And sometimes I find myself really spread thin. It was only a few months ago that I literally looked at my schedule. I'm like, I have meetings from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. Right. And I found myself skipping lunch and dinner to like attend these meetings and like do all these things. And I was just like mentally, emotionally dying inside. Right. And that's when I'm like, okay, like I need to like take a step back and like, what are my pillars? What are things that I need to work on so we are sustainable? What are things that I need to work on so we grow as a community? And what are the things I need to work on that builds the next generation? And when I can narrow it down to those three pillars, now I can eliminate like 40% of my meetings because they don't fit into those things. Right. And I used to have a really bad habit of like whoever reached out to me, literally anyone that asked for my time, I would give it to them. Right. I was very unselfish with my time. And as a result, I was dying inside because sometimes I would attend meetings that it was very out of my realm of expertise, like something wrong with their marriage or whatnot. I'm just like, okay, why are you talking to me? Yes, it does help a lot of people. When I have my three pillars, I became more focused. I'm like, okay, like, hey guys, I need to set boundaries now. Like, these are the three things I want to work on for the future.
Nice.
Right. And that's how I continuously improve myself.
Wait, what are your three pillars?
Like I said, sustainability for the organization.
Yeah.
And then finding projects that benefit the community currently in the present, and projects that are laying the seeds for the next generation.
Excellent.
Right? So Accelerator is laying the seeds for the next generation. For the present is our conference. And sustainability is like, we have our sponsorship for our, every time you see stuff like sponsored by so with our Instagram or whatnot, those are sustainability things. Those are three things I focus on.
Nice.
What are some surprises from the AHN for you?
Every day surprised me. Yeah.
Like, have you reached into countries you didn't think where AHN would be?
Yeah, plenty of times. I guess the surprise is someone took a picture somewhere. I think like some island or something, Maldives or something. And someone was wearing like AHM t-shirt. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Oh wow,
that's awesome.
Or just me walking around Hawaii one time in the summer, and I saw someone wearing an AHM sweater. I was like,
oh.
Wait, we can buy merchandise and gear?
Yeah, it's on our website.
Oh, I'm gonna go.
And I saw
up.
that, and I was like, "Yeah, this is cool. Like, this is really, really cool." You know, I just smile and laugh or something. Or sometimes I see a random sticker of someone's car says AHN on there. I'm just like,
nice.
Awesome.
Do you get like a breakdown through Facebook or anything of like the demographics of people in your group? Like in terms of like what country they're from, or
yes. So like number one, I was USA and Australia,
right.
And then it goes to Singapore, and then
interesting.
Yeah, and then it goes to Canada, and then it just breaks down to like Philippines, Vietnam, China, all these not China, but like Taiwan.
And we're not scoring well in Africa.
Eventually.
Yeah. Uganda is not hopping.
By any chance, does the word hustle ever have a negative connotation in the sense that other people may not know the group yet, join, and then they're like, hey, is this hustling about like some type of side hustle?
Oh, I thought this was a gambling deal.
Or that.
Yeah, there's all right. There's a good amount of like non-Asian people that when they join the community, and so we always ask them like screener questions, right? What do you want to join the community? Mm-hmm. And there was like, oh yeah, I came from like Asian Hustler, which is like a porno magazine and adult magazine. I'm here looking for Asian women for a good time. I'm just like,
oh my Lord.
Wait, there's an Asian hustler? Holy shit. I am learning a lot.
You're in the wrong group.
I will say this though. I mean, this might be a little bit risque, but Asian is like the only race that I see as like a predominant category on adult websites, you know, for race related stuff.
It's unfortunate that like the I guess stereotype of Asians, whether you get the ultra sexy female, because female, whether they look young at almost any age, but then you get the polar side of is it emasculated men, Asian men? So it's terrible for. Anyways, I mean, I kind of jumped on a little bit of a tangent, but
yeah. So in American culture and society, being smaller and younger is attractive, typically in the female case. I never
realized that's what it was. That makes a lot of sense, though.
Like being petite or
fetish.
Not,
yeah. It's a real problem. It really is.
And actually, kind of something that I want to loop back to that you said in the very beginning. Why do you think? I never thought about it, but I actually Googled it while we were talking. Why do you think that Asians are less likely to be promoted to C-level positions in general?
Because it's true.
Ooh.
It is true. Apparently, according to the fucking internet, which you can't lie on the internet, so it must be true.
Oh, you're saying, well, why is it true? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Can I give my story first, and then we'll have Bryan answer afterwards?
Yeah.
So
this is Liem's wheelhouse right here.
Because I probably mentioned the story to Emmett before. I don't know if I said it to you, Joe, while you're on. But so like I've throughout my career in software, I started in 2002, was it 2001? And I had a friend. I had many friends that were also in IT. So I had one friend specifically that was a tall white guy, and then I had a lot of other Asian friends. And unfortunately, throughout my career, that white friend always made higher. But also not to try. I'm gonna try to make the story more realistic and less racist, I guess. Racist or stereotypical. My Asian friends, the Asian friends that were taller, seemed to also get raises faster than I did, because I'm a short 5'2" guy, and my Asian friends, some of them, I think how tall was he? He was probably, I'm guessing it was 5'8", 5'9". So he's not tall, but he was taller than me, and he got raises. And the friends that knew me and that knew those guys, they're like, holy shit, those guys are fucking stupid. Like, how are they getting raises and you're not, Liem?
Like they can't be doing better at work than you are.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
I mean, yeah, some of them were pretty bad. Like one guy, I actually tried to teach him programming after work. And he was so stupid. I actually gave up. I was like, I can't do this, man. Like, you're not catching on. We spent a month together every day, and you're not remembering connecting any of this. But anyway, so then even till today, that white friend, he has always been 30 to 40% higher pay. And when you talk about 40% in the high 5-figure range, that starts to be a substantial amount of money.
Right.
Compounded over a career.
Yeah. And 20 years. Yes.
Yeah.
And there was one moment where I thought I had him, where I actually there was 1 month overlap where I was within like 2% of him, but then that same month he got a pay raise and he just bumped up 30% or 30% higher than me. So, for me personally, the way I've been treated at the workplace, there's so many times where managers have said something, they make some excuse. They're like, oh, your attention to detail, or you need to be better at this or that. And I'm like looking at my other coworkers that got raises and promotions. I'm like, this makes no fucking sense. You said that I need to have attention to detail, but that fucking white guy over there, he can't even fucking do his coffee correct in the morning. What the fuck? So, okay. So that's my story. All right, Bryan, go ahead. Add in.
Yeah, I think this is a really good point, Joseph, to bring up. Like, I'm not sure you guys heard of like the bamboo ceiling, the glass ceiling, and it's just basically a way that describes that Asian people are typically do not get promoted to up to higher level positions, right? Because essentially, we are seen as very passive in the workplace, where it's like we're pushovers at the workplace, and there's nothing against that, but when you really think about the way our parents was raised, it's like they're new to this country and they don't want to cause problems, right? Because there's no home to go to at the time.
Right.
It's a very war-torn country. You have nowhere to go. So guess what? When things look bad, when people are treating you like crap, you suck it up at work and you take it. You don't say anything, right? So that has been passed on to, I guess, like to managers that see that. They're like, okay, like I can give Asian people a lot of shit and they're not gonna ever speak back to me, right? I can skip their promotion and they're not gonna do shit to me, right? And that's I can't, for lack of a better word, it's just screwing all of us over, because now we have this perception that we're quiet, we're passive, we take shit, and we don't speak up, we don't cause problems, we don't stand out, we don't do any of those.
Yeah.
Right. And from a psychological standpoint, when you're at work and you're a white guy or whatever, you want to promote people that look like you and sound like you. That's just human nature, right? You connect with people like that. And when the promotion happens, it's like, I guess I'm screwing over the Asian guy, but he's not going to say anything.
Right.
Right. Until that happens over and over. And now it's like, I feel like with our generation, it's like we're just as American as anyone else. Why do we have to take that bullshit?
Yeah.
That's the change of culture, that we're speaking up. But it's only still really recently that we're starting to be more vocal, because it's still a lot of passed down stuff that we're still unlearning. And guess what? My mom always tells me, if shit goes wrong at work, just shut up and suck it up. A lot of us are still dealing with that. That's why the workplace is not quite to change at the moment.
So you think it's like a generational issue and like, right, a cultural issue essentially. And yes. I can actually imagine, and I don't know if this is the case, but I've seen this with other races in general, when it comes to like white managers and like in those scenarios. But when you do speak up for yourself, oftentimes I feel like a lot of times minorities are in general are, if you're getting uppity or you're causing trouble or, you're being disruptive, even though in reality, that's what you should be doing. And whenever people of the dominant race of a region do that, it's considered, he's just being strong. He's being confident, and I don't know if that's the case, but I can imagine that being the case. I mean, it's not really a question there, but
I can, very similar. I
can add to your guys' answers. in that the U.S. has a long history and a long culture, a long society of, white America, right? So after World War II, that's white America is basically what it is, and the corporations that grow up in that society, all the leaders are the tall white dudes, right? So we find ourselves hitting the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and we have more mixed culture, and we have a diverse workplace. We have, it used to be in the old days just white males were getting the good jobs, right?
Yeah.
If you were black, you weren't getting the good jobs. If you were Latino, you weren't getting these corporate jobs, right? It was a privilege to go to college and get some kind of degree. You had to have money. You had to have parents that paid for all this. You had to have the scholarships, and it was a very kind of rigged system, right?
Back when white people had all the power instead of just most of it.
Yeah, so literally a skewed thing when 90% of people are white, and all the TV shows are white, and we just don't know anything else, right? So so as that
go ahead.
So as that world changes, you still have this people will to look to height as strength and power, and the big tall guy, they'll elect them as the leader. Just there's kind of a human psychology to that, right? So Asians we're typically not the tallest guy in the room, so we lose there just right out the gate.
Right.
But and I've worked in several corporate environments, so I can tell you that if the bosses, if the C-level guys, if the guys running the show are a bunch of tall white dudes, it becomes very much like a boys' club, right? So if you can go hang with them at happy hour and have some martinis, if you can go play golf with them, then you can work your way into the club. It's not just about being loud and causing trouble. It's actually assimilating and integrating in the workplace and becoming buddies with the existing structure. And that's real hard to do if everybody sees you as, Chang the Asian guy, or, the loud Asian chick. It's not about making noise as much as kind of becoming a part of that culture and becoming a part of the team at that level, right? Outside of work and feeling that comfort and connection. So there's, I'm sure it's very complex. There's a lot of culture to it. But it's hard to break and hard to change. And it takes decades, or it takes a generation, or it takes time.
Well, I think with the media beginning to more legitimize Asians in a non-stereotypical way, I think that has a big influence on it too, because I think a lot of people's perceptions do come from the media, even at a subconscious level, and if you look at the way that Asians in general, even throughout the 90s and even through the early 2000s were portrayed in movies, they were always portrayed in a certain stereotypical role, and I think that contributed to it a lot, in general.
I think that's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge because that affects the generation seeing it. So you're talking about
exactly.
Yeah.
I also feel like you guys bring up a really good point too. And when you look at U.S. history, it's like it's all about erasure of Asian culture, right? Because when you look back at it, like the Chinese and Japanese were here during the railroads, 1800s.
Yeah.
All the pictures you see about all the railroads built, you see a bunch of white guys taking all the credit, right? And guess what? Like that, those white guys actually like got most of the generational wealth. That generational wealth increases. They go through each generation, and now they become business leaders, and they're just nothing against them. They're just inheriting what they were taught.
Yes.
Right? White supremacy and like white people are the best, and we can always step on other minorities to get to where we want to get, and that's still very reflected within our corporate world. We still see that a lot nowadays, but it's just the root of U.S. history is very, very racist.
Huge. And I think the fallacy that's happening here is that we think corporate promotion comes from merit and from doing a great job and from being the best qualified, and that's not always the case, right? If you're the hiring manager, if you're the person in power, you're not necessarily going to pick the best person for the job. You might not even be qualified yourself. You might be a fucking idiot. And so you're going to pick your friend, right? You're going to pick the person you think you want to work with. And a lot of times that's the person that looks the most like you.
And that's kind of what Bryan was saying earlier. Yeah, exactly. Like, you're going to, pick someone that's like you.
It's human nature. It is.
Yeah.
Like when we go to parties and groups or clubbing, like we gravitate towards people that look like us because we find comfort in that.
Yeah, tribalism. It's very real.
Yeah, I'm gonna connect with I think maybe what all three of you kind of said. So just let's play out a scenario. So a hypothetical situation where, so you got these movies in the 70s, 80s. You got where the Asian people are portrayed to be goofy, to all don't know how to speak English. They're dishwashers. They only know kung fu, and they only know how to say ching chang chong. So then a white person watching this movie, now 30, 40 years later, they're a manager now. They're in a position of power to give someone a promotion. They happen to have an Asian person working for them. Also, they have a white person working for them. That other white person is just portrayed as, there's something in the psyche from those years of watching those movies. I think they're just going to promote that white person. So anyways, I'm just rephrasing.
I agree because almost daily, like lines and scenes from movies I watched as a kid and haven't seen in 20 years pervade all of my thoughts. Like so many Top Gun quotes are popping through my head throughout my day. And like, I didn't think I liked the movie that much when I watched it. Like it was a cool movie and all, but it wasn't like the center of my life or anything. But you know, the movies I watched as a kid, Big Trouble in Little China, you know, all these movies that I saw freaking in the 80s are still embedded in my brain. So I think
Indiana Jones makes me cringe now when I watch Temple of Doom. Dr. Jones, you know, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, but somehow those nuggets, those little pieces never leave your brain.
Yeah.
And I think what Liem's saying is entirely correct, that if you have those stereotypes burned in when you're young, it never really leaves you, no matter how much you change your rational thoughts or your you know, you can talk about it and you can understand it better, but does it really change what's happening in the root in your brain?
And then to add to that too, so say that scenario where there's that white manager who watched those Asian movies, there's no point for him to reflect on himself to have to change. I'm not saying that he's bad. I'm not saying that he's wrong for it. There's just no benefit. There's no situation for him to look back at himself and like, hey, did I not promote that Asian guy when I should have? There's just
no, because I'm great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I would never do that.
It's like when I talk to my friend, well, this is kind of a tangent, but connected. When I talk to my friend Ricky, who's 6'8", and I tell him, you know, there's a lot of challenges.
Oh my God.
Yeah. There's a lot of challenges when I'm 5'2", when I'm in the dating scene or when I'm trying to get a promotion. And he's like, oh, really? I had no idea. I'm like, you have no idea how.
You have no idea.
You have no idea how easy it is for you to get women. He's like, it was actually a really cool conversation because I was able to explain it to him. He's well, thank you for your information so I could understand that. But now what I'm getting kind of to the white manager, there's no reason for anything to ever tell him to change. And so for Ricky, there's no reason for him to ever need to know what a short person's life is like.
No,
I'm not mad at Ricky. Me and him are great friends.
That's just the environment he lives in. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't understand.
He's just feeling bad. He's bumping his head all the time.
Yeah.
Why these Japanese cars are so damn small?
Fuck those Asians.
Did we lose Bryan? Are we still?
I'm here.
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on in light of Asian Hustle Network? We've got an awesome Facebook page. We've got a website. We've got a directory. We've got. Is it going to be kind of like a media outlet coming?
Yeah, so there's a media outlet coming for sure in January. What we want to do
soon,
is we actually want to sign like old school Asian movies that we enjoy growing up, like Journey to the West, onto the platform. And we want to like be able to highlight up and coming artists as well, and really create a platform for them because there's a lot of gatekeeping. And honestly, if you're posting 1 or 2 videos on YouTube, it's really hard to get the exposure that you need. So in my mind, it's like I want to just blow the gates wide open, right? We want to be that entity that continues to elevate the community in every single way that we can. And my ultimate dream for Asian Hustle Network in like 40 years or 50 years, when I'm like much older and like looking back, I want to be like, wow. We have a whole ecosystem. We have a community that supports each other in every single aspect that you can think of: corporate, mentorship, investments, media, stories, you name it. I want to be all through Asian Hustle Network. And also, I don't want to be just Asian Hustle Network. I want to see other entities pop up and do the same thing, because
right.
I don't want to be the only one.
That's fantastic. I want to get involved more. You have a convention coming up in April?
That's right. April
you're here in Vegas? Yeah.
29. Yep.
Okay.
Tickets are on AsianHustleNetwork.com.
If you need any help on that team, let me know. I'm happy to jump in and volunteer.
We need your cosplay.
Cosplay? Okay. I gotta step up my game. I gotta come up with something really good.
For that convention, do you already have like a film crew, or do you have that in mind, or are you going to record it or anything? Or
Yeah, it's gonna be a pretty high end production. So I've been negotiating with everything. That's probably one of the last things I need to worry about. I'm most worried about like the content part. It's like, what kind of value
right.
Yeah.
Are we bringing to the conference?
If you need a live broadcast podcast, you can be on site. Yeah.
I just wanted to make a really cool experience for Asian entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, because there's a huge entry barrier at the moment that I feel that you have to have certain ducks lined up in order for you to take the risk. And I'm starting to realize a lot as I'm on my own entrepreneur journey. It's like, if your parents are really well off, your chances of becoming an entrepreneur is really high.
Oh yeah.
Huge.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, because you're not worried about lunch tomorrow. You're like, I always got somebody to fall back on.
I listen to a lot of NPR's How I Built This, and they interview a lot of entrepreneurs, and I swear to God, 90% of them come from well-off backgrounds, at least.
Yeah.
At least they had the security to take those risks to begin with. You know, it's very rare that you hear about somebody that had nothing that built something. You know.
Yeah.
Even for the difference between me and Emmett, like I think him being half Irish, for me growing up in an all-white town, like the mental identity issue that I had growing up, I think it sacrificed my education, because I spent too much time trying to be white. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be like that community around me. Where then when I look at Emmett, I felt that he was able to concentrate on school. I mean, he had his challenges too. I'm not...
Well, no, I was just so socially awkward that I wasn't even worried about fitting in.
So
that's how you do it.
Didn't even occur to me.
When I think about like the type of education, not even, it's just how much he may know more on certain aspects of whether it's politics or certain science stuff. Like when I think about it, I'm like, man, Emmett's so lucky. Like I spent too many of my years. It probably wasn't until I was like 26, 27 years old where I was able to get over that white person identity, where to not need to fit in anymore. So 27 years of my life trying to fight that. That's a heavy burden to tax me, you know?
Yeah. Luckily I was more of a sociopath.
So I think not even just having rich parents to get you to become an entrepreneur, just having a upbringing, community, connections
goes a long way, you know.
Yeah.
And I want to bring that to people that don't have the connections, and I see myself largely in that group, right? Because I always look at myself as a huge outlier, because my parents escaped the Vietnam War, came out here, we lived in Section 8 housing. You know, for most of my life, I didn't even know I was poor because I grew up in a poor neighborhood, you know?
Yeah.
And to me, I feel like to be able to network with like the people that I network with now, it's like, I shouldn't be here, right? And also, next question is, why shouldn't I be here? Why can't more people like myself be here, right?
Yeah.
And you find that there's a huge, this is my own opinion, is that the likelihood of you going to like Harvard, Stanford, and whatnot is because you have a lot of resources, a lot of tutors.
Yeah.
You know, people watching over you. You don't have to worry about a lot of things. And you get into these schools that you meet a lot of other people like you. And then guess what? The doors keep opening up, because now you went to Harvard, Stanford, people automatically make the assumption that you're very talented and smart, and they'll take bets on you. Right. Yeah. And now you're afforded to leave your job. And it creates a whole new cycle of like
advantage.
Yeah. That constantly you have. But but how do you prepare people that don't have those advantages to bring it into those type of circles? And that's what I think about all the time.
Tell us about your upbringing, where you were born, your parents. Give us a whole, seriously, and then everything in there that leads up to AHN, meaning how your upbringing, your parents, being in poverty, maybe in poverty or whatnot, and then how that created you as a person and how that connects to AHN.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. So my parents escaped the Vietnam War, and they came over here as pretty young adults in their teenage years, early 20s. What really got to me was like my uncle was the one planning the escapes in Vietnam, right? He was like planning some of the boat escapes for people, and that's very admirable because
Wait, like he was the Harriet Tubman of Vietnam?
I don't know about that, but I just
helping others.
Because
Yeah.
I did my family is to the point where they don't really tell me anything, but I have to ask questions, right? So one time I asked my dad, why does my uncle have all fake teeth? And that's when he was like, yeah, he helped plan out the escape from Vietnam. We got caught by the Viet Cong, got the crap beat out of him. He lost all his teeth while he's in jail. That's the reason why he has all fake teeth. And that was the type of story that really fired me up. I was like, wow, like we're all into helping the community. It's just belongs in our family DNA, like planning things out and getting things done.
Yeah.
Flash forward, my dad. So my mom actually had an uncle in Australia that was trying to convince them to move to Australia. But my dad was like, we need to go to America. That's where all like the opportunities are at. So they ended up like I forgot what the story was, but I think my dad flipped a coin or something. He was like, heads we go to America, tails we go to Australia.
Wow.
I was like coin flipping away from the Australian,
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we got here, my dad was telling me that they couldn't speak English. They tried to assimilate the culture. They were washing dishes at restaurants, doing whatever they can to like get by. And he was telling me like one of his hardest jobs was actually at a car wash, like wiping out people's cars.
Yeah.
He was like for 15 hours a day with dirt low pay, virtually no tip. That was the hardest job he ever had in his life. Until today, I tip people really well when I go to car washes because I'm so reminded of my dad's story.
Yeah.
Right. And then growing up, we actually, when my parents came here, they end up in Washington, D.C. first, Virginia. But then, coming from Vietnam, they're not used to the code. And my mom was complaining to my dad. She was like,
yes.
I heard this awesome place in California that's just like home by the water. If you're Vietnamese, my mom grew up in Nha Trang, which is a very beach city. So she is so drawn to like this concept of like this magical city in America that's so similar. So we actually end up in LA. And when we end up in LA, we're in East LA in like the lower income area. And I mean, at that time, there's a lot of immigrant families there, right?
That's where Cheech and Chong are from.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess just growing up, all five of us lived in a 600 square foot 2-bedroom house that's like, in the lower side of town. And I just remember those are the happiest days of my life. I didn't know I was poor. And the activities that we did on the weekends was like we go to yard houses and buy like used toys and used clothes and whatnot and get pass me downs. Like I had no problem with that. That was my upbringing.
Right.
But the one thing that really bothered me was my mom forbid me to have sleepovers at other people's houses.
Oh.
She never let me sleep over, and she never had anyone come visit us at our house. And as I got older, I realized she never wanted us to feel like we're missing things because if you went over to my friend's house, I realized that wow, they have big houses and like all these things. I was so used up until I was high school. I was so used to like I thought it was completely normal that my room had both my siblings in there and like 3 desks and like 2 bunk beds. Right? It's just so normalized to me. When I got to college, I didn't. The smack of realization that I was actually poor was when I was talking to some people and they were like, "Oh yeah, we don't have financial aid." I was like, "What the hell? How do you go to school then?" That was the first realization. Another realization was, like when I visited their house and I was just so like culture shocked of like how things are, right? Because I'm used to a house where it's like my parents RAM wrap all the remote controls, like it's like really like humble background. And I guess like someone teased me during dinner. They're like, "Brandon, do you not know how to hold a fork?" I was like, "Is there a way to hold a fork? Like I'm just eating, you know?"
Yeah.
Wait,
just showing me.
What does that mean? How do you hold a fork? Am I holding the fork wrong?
I guess I was holding the
fork
wrong. Yeah, I guess like the joke they were making is like, "Oh, you don't have table etiquette." I'm like, what? What does that even mean? you know.
Yeah.
Right.
I finally visited their house, and then I found out like his dad was an investment banker at a VP or something.
Yeah.
And then that really got me exposed to like stuff like my whole life. My parents were telling me that investment is like gambling, right? Don't get in the stock market. You're gambling. Like whatever you do, you gamble. And when I was talking to their parents, it really blew my mind about how money worked because it didn't occur to me. I didn't know anything about money or absolutely anything. You know, I was just taught to just like study hard and not think about money. Money's a root of all evil type of thing. So I did a lot of unlearning in that side. I was like,
right,
all right, how does the world really work? You know, like, and that's when I started going down the rabbit hole of like having enough courage to open up like an investment account.
Yeah.
When I was like 21, 22, because this is the most taboo thing I've ever heard my parents say, and I'm doing it.
Wow.
You know, and it was like a lot to me. It's like a lot of unlearning. What people don't know about me is that majority of my 20s was spent living in people's garages and closets because I was saving money. Right, I was saving money so I can move my parents to a bigger house because I was just trying to be that good kid, you know, until I finally got a grasp of how money worked. And like, it's a little bit embarrassing because my first job, I got offered a salary of like 41,000 for a software engineer in California, and I thought that was the best job ever. And I worked like 100 hours a week during that job.
Yeah,
man.
Right? I didn't know any better. That was my first job, and you know that. Until finally, like I started talking more about people, I'm like, holy shit, like lowball most of my life.
That's hilarious because that's about how much I was making as my first. It was after about a year or two of my first software engineering job, and I was the opposite. I felt, I guess, entitled, like kind of the new generation. I was like, I deserve this pay. Like I'm gonna come in at 9, 10. I don't care if I come in at 10:30 or 11. If the manager says something, I'm gonna be upset. I'm gonna like say something rude to the manager, and then I'm gonna leave early. Also, it was a weird entitlement thing. But
are you sure that's not why you weren't getting promoted?
I got so much work done. All the developers are like, they were saying I was one of the best developers they worked with.
I don't
except
know.
for that,
I don't know why that statement really brought back a lot of memories too, because I used to think that if I didn't work hard enough, I can go back to being poor. That was like my mentality. I was like,
that is one advantage of growing up poor, in my opinion. Because I've been there. Is that like you're always just like, meh, you know, like
the fear of poverty coming back.
I was so afraid to be poor that I was working as hard as I can. I didn't want to like be broke, you know, and that was like my scarcity mindset of like, I couldn't take this risk. I could not have a job. Like it was like I needed this.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, slowly like a lot of luck happened. It was like joining companies at the right moment, watching them go IPO, watching suddenly abundance of money, thinking differently, meeting the right people, led me down the path of Asian Hustle Network. Right. And that's because of the humbling upbringing. It's like I mean, I don't want to say this, but I feel like nowadays I just hang out around with like a lot of people that went to Ivy Leagues, and I look at them. It's like you guys are way privileged, more privileged than you ever imagined, right?
Right.
And I want, and when unfortunately, when you talk to people that did not go to these Ivy Leagues, the mentality is a lot different. It's a very like a worker mentality where it's like, I can't take the risk, or I'm not the one that can do it, and that really resonates with me too, because I did not go to Ivy League, right? So that part resonates to me that. Shit, that if I can do it, you can do it too. And I personally don't think I'm the smartest person ever in the room, right? But what I have is I have conviction, I have courage, and I know that too goes a long way. And I want more people to realize that they do have that power within them as well.
You might be the most awesome person. I like that.
That's an awesome message, and
that's a great story, man.
I think that a lot of people in general, regardless of like race or upbringing, like compare themselves too much to people that have more than them or more privilege, you know, like just because you don't have that upbringing or just because you don't have those connections or that ability to, you know, have these private tutors or do this or that or whatever, you know, sometimes I know a lot of people that compare themselves to people like that, and they shouldn't at all, you know, like it has no bearing on your ability to get the job done. It has no bearing on your intelligence level. But unfortunately, because the way our society is constructed, I believe a lot of people think it does. You know, They assume, oh, you went to Harvard, therefore you must be smarter than me, you know?
Yeah, I think how far you've come is actually a better measure than where you're at, right?
Yeah.
The
delta, the differential is exactly. It's more important than the actual result.
Yeah.
Starting
you
at the
talk
top
about funny
and getting a
things.
little bit higher, but
we talk about funny things too. I just remember like just going on dates in college where like girls are more affluent families, and just some of the stuff that I did was like looking back, it's like it's so like a Vietnamese call it you way, you know. It's very like I didn't know any better, you know.
Were you giving them plastic
like,
flowers or what?
I don't know. It's just like a lot of like.
He wasn't taking them to $200 restaurants for a meal.
No, it's just like the fact that my parents had never taken me to like Denny's or something growing up because that was considered a luxury in our household.
Right. Yeah.
It was like, I just remember like, I was like, what do you want to eat? She's like, Cheesecake Factory. I'm like, oh, like that's such a nice restaurant. And it's just like the look on her face is like,
I don't live in Cheeto. We can't
go there. You know?
Wow. Yeah.
So just stuff like that. It's like, I was just like, I didn't know. To me, like Denny's at the time was like something that we ate when once a blue moon, when we're something worth celebrating.
Yeah.
Right. And looking back now, it's like, oh, you want to go Denny's? Nah, dude, Denny's gonna get it. I don't go there. but just looking back, is even like 10 years ago, it was like, wow, like that's how I used to be. Like this. Like,
it reminds me when I was 7 or 8, my parents would take us to McDonald's if financially things were going well. McDonald's was the treat. So for the longest of time, I think probably until the age of 24 did I get it out of my system where McDonald's it was just normal. It took me till 24-ish to figure out McDonald's is just normal.
Screw you guys. I still like McDonald's.
Well, I actually think too that's an important thing for like parents that have limited funds is to make things like Denny's or McDonald's seem special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I actually do admire that a little bit. Like,
you
know, like they don't have very much, so they're able to take the little that they do have and make it seem more important or impactful than it, you know, I mean, it should be, especially compared to privileged people. But it
literally is the treat if that's what you can afford.
Exactly. Yeah. You know,
you know, for us, it was KFC. Like maybe once every month or two. Like, oh wow, KFC time, fantastic, right?
When I was a kid, like one of my favorite things is whenever my mom would take us and we would go get Burger King and then go watch airplanes take off at the airport by parking next to it, you know.
Nice.
And you know, when I was a kid, I thought that was amazing. You know,
yeah,
this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. You know, we get to see airplanes. I get to have fucking a Whopper. You know, like there's nothing wrong with that. And you know, retroactively, I realized like that's because that's all they can afford. You know, is a little bit of gas and some Burger King. But you know, I still appreciate the effort, I guess. You know, or like the way they try to make it special.
Yeah.
I guess it's like the heartbreaking thing is like seeing what we know now. It's very heartbreaking because like I remember when things are finally going well, right? And I took my parents to like nice restaurants. The fear in their eyes when they're asked by the waiter, "What do you want to order?" was like they have never experienced this before, and it's like they were so uncomfortable to the point where it's like it's sad. You know, you're just looking at them. You're like, you're giving me so much of my life, and seeing you like startle when the waiter's like, "How's the food?" You know, you're like, "Oh, holy shit!" Like, it's so sad. You know, like that part was heartbreaking to me. And I was like, "Shit!" Like, you look back, like, "Oh fuck!" Like this is how far I've come. Like extremely heartbreaking because this is like how far your parents have sacrificed, and to give them to think more abundantly as well. Like the amount of lectures and earfuls I got when I started buying $4 boba. For them.
Oh, like, you wasteful son of a bitch.
They're just like boba,
pissing your future down the drain.
That's so expensive. And that's like some of the scarcity mindset that I wanted to help my parents shed. Right. And just things I throw away too. Like sometimes they're over at my house and I throw away like some towels that look kind of old. I'm like, I don't want to use this thing anymore. I find it folded by the staircase. I was just like, what? My parents are like so like scarcity mindset that they're just looking at towels that they think are still reusable and they save it and they're like, oh yeah, like don't throw that away.
No, my mom literally can't throw anything away. She's a hoarder.
Those subtle things that you're just like, damn, like our parents have sacrificed so much for us. Yeah.
When even till today, I still buy popcorn because growing up, when I go to the theaters, I have like in my body, my mind,
soul,
I have to buy popcorn because it reminds me back in the day, my mom had enough money to give me money to go see a movie, but she said no snacks, no food, nothing.
Right.
That was a lot of money to go see a movie.
Yep.
So when I grew up, when I had money, when I had a job, whenever I go to a movie, I'm buying popcorn to make up for those times, even till today. Last time we went to see, I forget what, I remember the popcorn.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Ghostbusters. I remember the popcorn, but I don't remember Ghostbusters. But
Asians
you got damn right. I'll spend that $12 on those fucking shitty nachos.
Yeah.
I was dying for nachos. They didn't have any.
That day we went, we were all wanting the nachos and they didn't have it. But
Asians are underrepresented in the latest Ghostbuster movie.
They had what's the
none of the ghosts were Asian.
No, but the kid. So the main actor,
the kid was named Podcast.
Yeah, the kid's name was Podcast. He was Asian, right?
Yes, it was a good movie. It's worth seeing. Yes.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty good movie.
Yes, I was kidding. Asians are okay. It's a fair shake. So I'll get the Asian stamp of approval on the Ghostbusters.
So Bryan, when you mentioned the sleeping, sharing a room, I haven't even thought about this since freaking
you guys share a room, right?
Since 8 years. When I was 8 years old, I had to sleep in the living room with my brother and an uncle because there wasn't enough rooms in the house. So it was sleeping on the floor in the living room.
Yeah,
and going to school.
In a tiny condo, it wasn't a.
Yeah, it was a small condo. I think it was a 3-bedroom condo, but we had too many people.
Yeah, and Grandma was in the garage.
Yeah.
That was no joke, man.
And going to school, it was like I think a mental. I purposely did not want to mention that I was sleeping on the floor. So when I went to go, my mom would let me go spend the night at my friends, and I would see them have these nice bunk beds, these massive rooms.
That race car bed.
Yeah.
Super Nintendo, and you just had a Neo Geo.
Yeah, exactly.
That gold Super Nintendo.
So that bit of fear, I never ever mentioned to anyone, probably till now, because I haven't thought about it since then. But even at that age, I didn't mention to anyone that I was sleeping on the floor in the living room. So I know what you're talking about with the sharing a room.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, right? I've always assumed that you and Emmett share a room and hang out and live together. I just realized you guys probably don't live together.
You should see the size of this fucking house. We did when we opened a cafe. We opened Cafe Hapa, and we minimized our expenses. We rented a room in San Diego. I think it was $600 a month, but we shared a room while we were running the coffee shop.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but that was a tight space.
Yeah, during that time, I was eating the $1 Jack in the Box salads.
We were living on the dollar menu.
Jack in the Box. Even for poor people, Jack in the Box is kind of pushing it. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit.
Dollar frozen pizzas were the shit. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
I think this seems common on AHN, where I see a lot of the posts where a lot of these entrepreneurs are coming from harsh backgrounds and they post these stories. What are some of the super interesting ones that you remember of?
Oh man, there's so many. I particularly love stories that are very similar to mine. And I don't know, I always resonate to like the immigrant experience, right? Where it's like, I grew up with X amount, but I worked hard and a lot of things happened in my favor. I can't remember any particular one right now because I read over I literally take the time to read over every single one of them.
Yeah.
Which costs me about 2 to 3 million posts now. That's a lot.
Wow.
Holy shit.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah. We missed 84,000 posts while we're sitting here.
Yeah. So it definitely skew my mindset a lot. But it's just, and I think it's crazy too, because when you're writing any sort of organization, like your personality and it seeps through that entire organization.
Yeah.
Right. Because my mentality has always been like grassroots and like you can do it type mentality that sometimes I look at that organization and I'm like, this is a reflection of how I am inside. And that's the craziest thing, because when you start looking at other founders, when they create their companies, you see them inside their company too. Right. It's just like you just steer in the direction that you find the most comfort. right? So I always find that really, really fascinating that your personality, regardless of what company you start, is going to be seeped through that entire organization.
Yeah, actually, and a weird connection is the house parties Emmett and I used to throw back in, gosh, what was that, 10, 15 years ago? But
early 2000s.
But I was surprised at how I felt that our personalities came through the parties. Even we had parties where I think the biggest party that I remember was a 200-person party in a 2,000 square foot house. But
yeah, it wasn't that big, yeah.
But it was at the peak, we had 100 people in the house.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
That's
it was
crazy.
Every room was shoulder to shoulder. It was so
Fuck
awesome.
that carpet.
It was so awesome. But the
Do
amazing
not bring a black light into that house after that party. Do not do that.
The amazing thing, there wasn't a fight. There was nobody there was no arguments.
So good vibes.
It was great vibes. And I actually think that was our personalities, because there's like some side stories that someone I had a friend who invited a friend, who that person invited a friend. That person called the friend and said, hey, can I bring cocaine? And then my friend said, no, it's not that type of party. So I think that
we could have had cocaine and hookers.
There was some guy that offered, not hookers. He was trying to sell, he was selling adult toys. So like dildos and stuff. And he wanted to sponsor our party. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that. He said he would give money if we just tell everyone.
Sponsorship,
I'm not gonna
bro.
hand out Baby Yoda fleshlights.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
We'll have to ask Bryan if he thinks that's a good marketing tool on parties and Yoda fleshlights.
Negative.
Yeah, you
Depends on the
definitely know
crowd.
what it-
Depends on the crowd.
You definitely know what I mean by that. Then it's
Yeah.
crazy. You see the personality see through.
Yeah.
I always feel like sometimes the organization takes on how I feel at the moment, because I was feeling really sad and depressed during the rise of Asian hate, and I realized that the community is reflecting that. It's like a lot of like posts about frustration, sadness, and whatnot. That's when I tried to keep myself in a better mind state, because I don't know what it is, but it just seeps through however I'm feeling at the moment into the organization. So it's better off that I'm always kind of level-headed and mellow.
So we know people have met romantically through Asian. That's not the goal. So
for 2020, we played around on Valentine's to do speed dating. So we call ourselves. So for that particular day, we changed our names to Asian Dating Network.
Yeah.
Just to reflect Valentine's. And, we had like a speed dating thing where it's like, dude, we had like 400 people sign up. Just like, what the hell? I don't know how to sort this. My computer science side was like, how do I sort this efficiently? And then I realized that there's not a lot of technology out there that does blind dating that well on virtually. So if you guys want to solve that problem, this sounds like a
virtual blind speed dating. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. We end up having to use Zoom, and particularly breakout rooms. And I just remember the feedback was like, I came here expecting to meet a really attractive girl, but instead I got matched with dudes all night long. I was like, okay. I mean, this is a fail, but the whole point is to meet people and have fun, right?
Life is a sausage fest.
I'm going to add for the heck of it, because I bash white people a lot lately. So even though my stories, I talk about me not getting a pay raise or a promotion compared to certain white friends, but a lot of the crucial points in my life have been thanks to white people. I've had an uncle married into the family that really helped me a lot.
He's super white.
Yeah, and then
just kidding.
I had another white friend that guided me through some crucial times in my life where I financially was not at a good spot. So as much as I bash, I think I'm trying to bash these stereotypes that are negatively affecting people, and not just Asians, really, but all around people.
Just
but
the unfair system.
My stories happen to be from an Asian perspective, so I happen to say that. So Anyways, that's just my little plug for myself, so that maybe if someone's watching my other podcast, they're like, dang, Lem hates white people. Hopefully if they see this, they'll think that I don't hate just all white people.
No, I want to clarify too. I don't hate white people either.
I love black people.
I just didn't grow up around enough white people, right? Because I went to a predominantly Asian high school, predominantly Asian area. That's one thing that I kind of mentioned before too. It's like I wish I had more interaction with other ethnicities.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to tell a story, then maybe you'll understand the question afterwards. So I have some cousins that were raised in predominantly Asian areas, and I feel like their English at they're near my age, but they are born in America, raised in America, and yet their English is not as good as mine because their parents kept them in the Vietnamese communities, kept them in the Vietnamese schools, Vietnamese churches, Vietnamese restaurants. I felt that did, unfortunately, a disservice to them because as they're growing up now, they try to only find things in the Asian area. And I compare me to them where I'm like going out eating Mexican food, Greek food, all types of food. When at the workplace, I feel I'm able to mix well with white people, black people, everything.
Latinos.
And especially in this case, it'd be white people because they're usually the managers. So that was an important thing for me to be able to gamify the situation for my benefit against white people in power. I feel that they have a very tough challenge when they're dealing with management. I don't know, from your perspective and the things that you've been through, what do you think of with that story?
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from. I still have friends like that too that stick within the Asian realm. That I see it. To me, it's like you're not living life unless you're uncomfortable. That's the most different mentality. I think it's pros and cons. Like, I think what you mentioned is a huge pro because you understand, for lack of a better word, the white dynamic. But there's also advantages of being the Asian culture too, because now you see things that you can't normally see. And for myself, I saw a lot of division. Koreans people stuck together, Japanese people stuck together, Chinese people stuck together, Vietnamese people stuck together. And that division from insight, because I grew up in such an Asian area, helped me sort of plant the seeds of Asian Hustle Network. Because I didn't want to see that anymore. I want to see us come together. But I think had I grown up in a very strictly white environment, I don't think I would have had that insight. I'll look at things a lot differently. And I don't even know if Asian Hustle Network would be founded at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
So good thing you grew up the way you did.
Yeah, very, very Asian. But at the same time, I sort of wish I had more white friends. Yeah. I actually find myself making friends with Latinos pretty easily.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, we have a lot of similarities, like you guys like eating Asian food, I like eating Mexican food. So
yeah.
So the family culture is there, the trust culture is there. So like I always find a lot of comfort talking to them. And then,
you grew up in East LA too, right?
yeah. Dude, I probably ate more Mexican food growing up than I did Asian food. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, we'll go to the final question section. So this is 5 or 6 questions. Maybe we'll wait for Joe to get back to start it just for the heck of it.
You're asking Bryan, right?
Well, I mean, it's just so that Joe could chime in because that's usually during the final questions we chime in some extra stories
where Joe shines.
Yeah, sometimes he does. So jumping back to the like you not being raised in staying in the Asian area, would you have any tips of advice for people that are raised in Asian areas right now? Because there's immigrants coming to the United States right now. So there's Vietnamese or Asians, Mexicans, whatever, blacks coming to America now. What suggestions would you have for those people?
Is it the topic of assimilation? Is that what we're talking about? Basically?
Sounds like that. I think the most important thing is be proud of your heritage. That's the first part. But also accept that we're all human and we want the same things. At the core value, like we just want to trust and love, right? I think that's really important. And then definitely whenever you can, I want people to step out of their comfort zone. That's the only way you grow. right? When you're moving to a new country, you obviously want to be around things that makes you feel like you never left your country. But at a certain point, you have to be able to step outside that circle and build friends and friendships and trust with other people and other communities. And that's what I would have done differently, right? In my formidable years, I wish I stepped outside the Asian circle and made more diverse friends.
Great. Yeah. That's great advice.
Spend more time at the Cheesecake Factory.
All right. First question.
It's a ton of white people up in there.
It is, isn't it? First question. What great daily habit or habits do you have?
So I call them my non-negotiables, which means that I have to do this no matter what.
Oh.
And two of them actually, is that I had to journal every single morning. So I start with my goals, I start with things I'm grateful for, and I go into a free flow. And that free flow really helps me understand where my alignment is and how I'm feeling. Because sometimes I realize that sometimes I ignore my emotions sometimes. And it comes out when I'm not thinking. And particularly when I'm writing, like free flow without really thinking, I'm like, oh shoot, this is a problem. And it helps me become more aware of the issues. So now I'm aware enough to work on it and be more aligned. The other non-negotiable I have is I have to read every day.
Nice.
It's in one chapter or 30 minutes, whatever it is. I have to read every single day. That's like the one thing I absolutely enjoy because it keeps me disconnected from time to time, and it keeps me almost like in a fantasy world. But also, I read a lot of self-improvement books, so it's like I'm always envisioning myself as a CEO. Like when I read books, I get so into it where I'm just like, what do I do in that situation? And I find myself in my own real life taking advice from other people that don't know who I am. I'm just like, oh wow, this thing feels so familiar. It's because I read a lot of books. So those are my two non-negotiables.
Also, he's always hustling.
Yes, I could read the sign. When did the journaling start? Like 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
So I started this habit in high school.
Oh, okay.
But it was very, very inconsistent. It didn't get consistent until like 6 years ago, where I literally have not missed a single day in the last 6 years.
Wow.
So whoever gets a hold of my journal whenever I'm gone will have an accurate documentation of almost my entire life, because I don't plan on stopping this habit.
Wow.
You know, so I have accurate documentation from when I was 20, in my early 20s until now. So it's like,
that's awesome. I also have a manifesto. It's pretty great.
Like a terrorist manifesto.
I think about this time to time too. Like, what if one day my great grandkids find my journal and it's just like, wow, like great grandpa was such a fucked up person. You know, because it's just like a lot of like emotions and thoughts you deal with. You don't tell other people because you're just fighting your own war inside. And I'm like very honest in my journal too. So I'm just afraid that my future kids and generations end up finding my journals and be like, yeah, grandpa, when he was like 20, 25, 26, he had some fucked up shit going on. You need to figure out. Yeah.
Well,
at the end of the day.
Yours is written, mine's on video. I feel I'm pretty open on this podcast. I talk about like regrets. Like I talk about how often I think about my regrets and how I try to fix them and how I try to treat my friends better every day.
Hey, if you go get a terrible tattoo, then you'll have new regrets that you can focus on.
It's never too late to create new regrets.
Yeah. Content for the show.
No, the problem is like I create regrets. Like that's human nature. I feel like if you reflect on your actions, you're gonna find things. You're like, damn, why did I do that? Yeah. It's easy. It's really fucking easy. It's so easy.
Yeah, like I always wondered why did I invest in Catgirl coin? You know,
that's a perfect segue to the next question. What do you know or think of cryptocurrency?
I think cryptocurrency is the future. To be honest, I have never been against it. In fact, it always piqued my interest because from all the books I read, from some odd reason, I'm always like, if I was born during the creation of the World Wide Web and I was an adult during that time, I'd be so rich by now. I don't know why I think that way. And when cryptocurrency came out and the blockchain came out, I'm just like, this is the new internet. Like, this is the Wild West right now. If you want to create something amazing, you go on the blockchain. And
wait, do we need an Asian hustle coin?
I thought about that.
We got a platform.
Yeah, and I always thought that this technology is the future. When you look back to like old documents of the internet and what people said about it, it's the exact same way that people are saying about crypto right now,
Oh yeah.
Right.
right? So I see a lot of similarities. So I'm all for it, and I own a good amount of coins as well. And I got into NFTs pretty early on too, so
Nice.
that helped me adopt like this early mindset that this is going to be something amazing, you know?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Bored apes are the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love crypto. I'm a software engineer. I look at it a little bit differently than some. I go a little bit sci-fi, but if you ever have questions, feel free to shoot me any questions and I'll try to help out.
If you ever want to know what meme coin to invest in, let me know.
Is it Squid Games?
That one's too late.
I've lost too much money on a Squid Game coin, so I don't want to talk about that.
All right, next question. What's the biggest problem for humans and what do we do to fix it?
Oh man, humans create their own problems, so it's just the ecosystem is own, you know. The problem that we have, I don't know. You just have to be aware. I think a lot of us are unaware, and a lot of us are keeping our minds closed off to key issues that make us feel uncomfortable, right? There's a huge thing with humans is that we tend to gravitate towards being comfortable all the time, and sometimes comfortable is not the right thing. You know, just because we're comfortable right now using fossil fuels because it gets us from point A to point B doesn't mean it's the right thing. You know, just because things are done the way they are doesn't mean it's the right thing, right? And we need to like be more aware and cognizant of what's going on in order to solve the problems that we have. But that in itself is a fallacy. Like everyone's upbringing is different. It's a great thing they're all unique, but it's also a terrible thing they're also very unique. You know, so the problems will still continue. Will always going to happen over and over and over.
I gave you a magic wand that said it could only do systematic changes. What systematic thing would you suggest to fix that problem?
Oh man, what do you mean by systematic? Are you talking about like political stuff or like how systematic you want to talk about here?
It could be politics, or it could be like maybe psychiatrists, availability for everyone, which donuts for everyone. I don't think that would work.
Or stopping the U.S. government from making online poker illegal. Whatever you want. I have no horse in the game, so I don't really care.
This is You're right. This is where Joe shines.
Yeah, it's gonna get kind of crazy because I never really talked about politics and stuff on a podcast before. Like, if I could change one thing, I want to kind of redo like the Democratic Republican systems. I feel like there's nothing. I feel like there's a lot of things wrong with that because sometimes the elected people are not the best, but because of like person's prestige, power, influence too much of it, that actually hurts the greater good because there's so much loyalty inside one's party. It becomes almost like gang affiliated where it's like, I don't associate with you, I don't talk to you because you're different beliefs. But that's the part where I want to change is like, just pick the best damn person. You know, it doesn't matter what party they're in. Just pick the best damn person that can do the damn good job, you know?
Andrew,
I like that, yeah.
I personally
I'm not advocating for any candidate.
I think we should just have a lottery system, you know? Like you're just sitting there one day and you're like, fuck, I have to be president for the next 4 years. You know? That's the most fair way to really do things.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that radical, but like
I know a lot of people that we don't want in power.
All right, next question. What's your favorite food or dish?
Ta-da!
Oh man, I honestly used to be a huge ramen lover. But
I thought you were gonna go Mexican food, bro.
Nowadays my metabolism's slow, so I'm a pho person now. I'm like, it's so much better for my health.
Wait, pho is better for you than ramen?
I don't know. I just feel that lighter.
They throw more animals. They throw more animals in a bowl, so I mean, whatever. It's like Noah's Ark in a fucking bowl. You get to eat it.
I do love my burritos, though. Everybody knows that. I love eating burritos a lot.
Wait, do you have a favorite pho place in Vegas here? Just curious.
Not yet. I haven't really found a place yet.
I gotta show you the good one. What would you say, Liem?
I'm gonna go. Liem really likes the pho at Saigon 8.
Saigon 8
off of 215 in Eastern.
Oh, okay.
I liked Pho Noodle House. Pho
Viet
Noodle Bar. Pho Noodle
Viet
Bar.
Noodle Bar?
Viet Noodle Bar. Holy crap.
Yeah.
It's been a while since
Your Vietnamese sucks.
But Newm says that one's not as good. So I want to trust in a weird way. It's a weird thing that her taste buds for Vietnamese authentic pho is probably better tuned than mine. So does it matter which one I like more? But
yeah, there's a difference between what you enjoy and what is most authentic.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You could enjoy Taco Bell without acknowledging that it's not, authentic Mexican. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like,
you know what's hilarious? If you meet Mexican people like from Mexico that live down there, ask them if there's any Taco Bells around. They will find that to be a hilarious question.
Yeah, you gotta tell those Mexicans straight up, like, bro, have you ever even had a Crunchwrap Supreme? They don't even know what to do. Yeah. They just make their beef tongue tacos and go about their day.
Yeah.
What's your favorite pho?
I don't know that I have a favorite one. There's places I enjoy eating. Viet Noodle Bar is good. Saigon 8 has some good locations. They have a new one on Silverado Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Over here in the southwest side of town on Rainbow, there's probably 3 different places I go to.
How is District 1? I haven't been there yet, but it seems pretty famous.
It's famous. It's not authentic at all. It's like if somebody wanted to make a fusion of like, kind of a hipster fine dining with Vietnamese, they do a lot of fusion dishes.
Yeah,
so.
Is that a restaurant or?
Yeah, District 1. Yep.
Okay, District 1 sounds very dystopian, so I wasn't sure if that's a restaurant or like what means. Or
that's how the districts in Vietnam. They're the District 1, 2, 3, 4.
Are you
5,
serious?
6. Yeah. That's
in Saigon.
Oh, God, okay.
Those are the neighborhoods.
District 1 is the the touristy American area of Saigon.
District 1 makes District 7 look like District 3, right? You know what I'm saying?
I don't think they do know what you're saying.
Hunger Games?
Another one I would suggest, Bryan, is try the oxtail pho at Pho King off of 215 in Eastern. That one's pretty good.
No, didn't we go there for Bumba Way?
But they also
the Bonnet.
Yeah, Bonnet.
Oxtail, huh?
Yeah, but they have an oxtail pho there. There's also was it Le Pho? There's one that downtown that had a oxtail pho. I think you told me about that place. It's been a while. But yeah,
pre-COVID.
Yeah, Bryan, if you ever want to go, if you need a tour guide, let me know. All right, next questions. Last question. Shout out 2 friends that you think that should do this podcast.
Who would be great guests?
That is a good question. There's so many. I can ask a clarifying question. What kind of guests do you typically look for?
Good ones.
Just
Asians.
Well, actually, no. There's actually some. So when this started out, this logo used to say Some Viet. So I had a channel that I wanted to be Some Vietnamese guy. So I shortened it to Some Viet. So this logo of I don't have the cup. I have a cup that still has the Some Viet logo, and I changed it to Talks with Lim Lee, and I changed it because it felt like that's what a lot of podcasts you want your name in the title. I don't know if that was a good move. Hopefully it is. We'll see in the next year or two. So I took away Some Viet. But anyway, so Some Viet, I actually did kind of imagine this being more an Asian hustle podcast to some degree when I first started it. It kind of evolved in different. It evolved into this.
Some Viet and the Arab.
yeah.
Saudi Asian.
Yeah.
So I guess to answer your question, any guest that you think's great. I love Asian guests. I would really love to have maybe an Asian cop on, but that's probably a very specific question. Yeah. And then cops really find it. I've already had quite a few. I requested a few cops, and they all are afraid to come on this podcast, which I understand. Touchy subjects, things I would talk about.
What about somebody that is highly involved in the Stop Asian Hate kind of activities?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm actually having 2 people in mind. One of them is the podcast person of Vietnamese boat people.
Okay.
I'm looking him up on Facebook right now because I totally forgot his name. and the other person runs Vietnamese podcast.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So he goes through and interviews predominantly like Vietnamese pioneers in the community.
Wow.
So those are two people. I need to look up their names.
Okay.
They're probably gonna hate me because I forgot.
Well, we could cut this out and we could edit it in. Once you find it, you could say their name and then.
I mean, you're the only person I've ever met that's also called them boat people. I actually used to work for an electronics retailer here, and we were a big port, and we were instructed not to sell to boat people, and I didn't know what that meant for the longest time.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's that derogatory. It's
pretty derogatory in my opinion, but I mean, not coming from you, but like, you know what I mean? Like in general, like the way that I heard it was hella derogatory.
Oh, yeah.
Because they would get off the boat and just buy shit and they wouldn't buy warranties, which is bad for the company I work for, allegedly. I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay. Yeah.
And I always thought it was fucked up because they'd be like, don't sell laptops to the boat people. Tell them we're out of stock. I'd be like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Wow.
You know?
No. Well, so in our context, there's fresh off the boat, which is people that literally just got here. Right. And then in the Vietnamese context, a lot of the people that escaped Vietnam literally jumped on a boat. And so there was a time in the late 70s where there was a phenomenon of here's another load of Vietnamese coming over on boats. So,
I saw that here because we were right on a port river, and
right,
a lot of them were just working a boat, and they get off the boat to spend their money to buy a laptop to talk to their family, and you know, we were told to tell them no, fuck you, you know, and I was like, what?
Oh wow. So what's the discrimination there? You don't want their money, or what's
the entire metrics of the store, the manager, and the employees was based off of how many warranties and accessories you could sell if someone bought a computer. And most of them were just buying a $300 computer so they could talk to their family or, you know, communicate or whatever. And since they didn't buy these extra things, you know, they were considered low value customers.
That's a loss to that person's performance in the company's eyes. Wow.
Yes, it was. It absolutely was. So like,
that's crazy.
If you didn't sell a warranty or a printer with a computer, you know, you would get the cold shoulder. If you did sell that shit, you wouldn't get a bonus or commission. You just get a fist bump, you know? So, yeah. And they were hella racist. You know what I mean? Like the place I worked for, they would literally have us open laptops and like be like, oh, it's open box, and you know, smear our nuts on it. Not literally, but pretty much. You know?
Damn.
It was horrible.
Okay.
But that,
okay,
that
I found their
I'm
names.
sorry.
What? No worries.
Yeah. You got recommendations.
So I want to shout out Kenneth Nguyen, which he's the podcast host of a Vietnamese podcast that highlights Vietnamese celebrities, talents, creators, game changers within the Asian American community in Vietnam as well. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Another podcast shout out is I want to recommend Bao Nguyen. So he's the director of Be Water, Bruce Lee documentary. And I really love his take on like Bruce Lee's impact on the entertainment industry. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That is cool.
I would love to see some strong female voices of women that have incredible stories. Because I think it's even harder for women to be loud and be empowered and to climb these rungs, right?
Yeah. So there's the Vietnamese woman that reached out to me recently. Her name is Mai Lê. And she wrote her book based upon her life that talks about her escaping Vietnam.
Oh, that'd be awesome! Yeah,
American culture, and she ended up going to like Princeton. Now she's a startup founder.
Fantastic!
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Would love to meet her. Yeah,
cool. Yeah. All right, I have one question. We could either, if you want to. My question is, do you have any suggestions on how I can make my podcast bigger? We could either do that via email, or if you want to answer now, or whatever.
I would take clips, and I guess you have to narrow down your target audience. You can't really cast a wide net in podcasting and realize to get the screen numbers that you want. It's like it's hustle, and our demographic is from age 25 to 46. That's our demographic. We're gonna market towards that. I think you have to figure out like who's your target demographic, right? And leverage the right social media platform for that. I like your color in the background. I like you guys' humor. So I personally feel like the way that you guys narrate the podcast would be, I would honestly feel like it appeals to the younger generation because there's a lot to learn. With that being said, I will look at like Dive Studio with the way they do their clips on Instagram Reels, the way they do their clips on TikTok. They kind of hone into like that fun style because you guys strike me as a podcast that's very casual and very fun and very hip.
Yeah.
Like, go for your target audience that fits that model. Because if you're a Grant Stefan, obviously you want a darker environment like myself. I have a dark environment because this is a semi-professional podcast. Like
serious talk.
Serious talk, right?
Yeah.
But I can tell from the lighting behind, it's like know your demographic, who you're marketing to. And after you know the demographic, now I can ask the right question in the podcast. If I was at my 21-year-old life and I don't know what I'm doing, what should I do? And have the podcast guest sort of give advice. And then now you have those little nuggets that you can use to target your demographic.
Nice.
So I realized in podcasting, because this is my second podcast, actually. My first one is a real estate podcast, Crushing It in Real Estate. Yeah. And that one, I made a million mistakes. So I was like, man, why is my listenership so crappy? You know, but after I learned from that, it's like, okay, I need to niche down. This is my niche. We're a hustle podcast. We're inspiring people to get started. Our clips should be around the word hustle, right? So niche down, understand who you're talking to.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So if I'm understanding Bryan correctly, you want to title this podcast Top 10 Reasons Why Asians Are Better Than Everyone Else. You know, you gotta use clickbait like that.
Yeah, just know who you're talking to. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, great. Nice.
All right, Bryan, thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Thanks for sharing Asian Hustle Network with the Talks with Lim Lee.
Yeah. Do you have a cup, a drink, or anything to cheers with?
I have my 2 LaCroix cans during this podcast in 3 hours.
Yeah, let's do that.
There you go.
Healthy.
Joe?
Cheers, gentlemen.
Oh, shit. Oh, cheers.
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 Thanks, Bryan.
Asian
Hustle
Network.
To your Asian network group. I hope I get approved.
Of course.
Saudi Arabia is part of Asia. Look at that.